is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
It's hard to be humble when you're from Arkansas, which was funny on many levels, because why would you be proud of being from Arkansas? That's number one. Arkansas is a terrible place.
And Rich Crage.
Like, this all started because someone liked a tweet and got annoyed about
everybody
it.
Everybody log off. Throw your phones in the body of water closest to you. Stop. This is all terrible. I hate it all.
Yeah, it's all so dumb.
And we are live here on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. What's happening, Joe?
Ready to do championship audio.
Yeah, we had to peel you away from the NFL drafts. Your favorite of all the drafts. NHL. You prefer the NHL draft a little more to the NFL draft.
Every draft stinks. I think, here, let me flip over. I think the Lions just selected Snodgrass from Arkansas. Are you excited about that?
Oh, yes. Love. Well, did you, so do you know that, because I don't know how, well, you listen back to the audio. You're a Flagship re-listener immediately after we record the Flagship. Well, you'll
every download counts.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for doing that. Do it too. Whole family. Make sure the whole family gets in on that. But yeah, you got the the clip I'm playing in the intro right now is the kid that as a when growing up that had the it's hard to be humble when you're from Arkansas.
Oh, you dug that clip up?
Yeah, we used that clip a couple weeks ago, and I've been using it for the last few weeks. So I like that you bring up that. In Arkansas, you're making that player up, right? I have no idea if you're making that player up or not. So.
Would it make a difference either way?
No, I would have no clue either way. Yeah, my
That's
NFL
why
fandom, unless Herman Moore is walking through that door, my NFL fandom is done. I'm out.
That's why the NFL draft stinks. It's like reading the phone book. Like like an average fan, you might know, if you know 10 players, that's probably a lot. But people will sit and watch. This thing's a monster. It's gonna crush SmackDown tomorrow.
Oh yeah, killing our rating, I'm sure.
They avoided the first round at least. You don't want to go head to head with this first round. So Impact's gonna get destroyed. People love this draft, and I'm a huge NFL fan. You know that. I'm a huge sports fan. I have never, I can't say never, but probably about 20 years ago, I just stopped wasting my life paying attention to these drafts, because one day you just wake up and you're like, wait a minute, I don't know Snodgrass. I don't know who this man is. It doesn't mean it. No matter who they pick, it doesn't mean anything to me because I don't know any of these people. And even if I did know who they were, I'm not a talent evaluator. It
Right.
wouldn't make a difference anyway.
And also, it's impossible to know. I mean, there's so many different factors that play into it. I always get a ride out of the. I love the immediately after the draft grades to these people that we've never seen play professional sports. Like, the Washington football team, or what they came up with a name, didn't they? I forget what their stupid name is now. Destroyers or some shit. So I don't know what it is.
Fucking Marauders. I don't know what
let's go to the Washington Marauders. A C-. They picked this cornerback from Michigan State, and I don't know if he's a good fit. Like, you have no idea. Nobody knows. You know nothing. You know absolutely nothing. Like, the NBA draft, you can kind of, sort of, because it's like, the great players in college are usually pretty damn good in the pros. Like, it's kind of a little bit more obvious that guy is immediately going to start or immediately, play or it's a little bit of a different story because it's, 5 people on the court. That guy's going to be a top-ish star or whatever. But even that can sometimes cause like some real big giant, where I've been like, oh, this is going to be like I'm still waiting for Thomas Robinson to break out. I think he's been retired for 7 years now or whatever. It's like, no, it doesn't quite work that way. So,
I mean, the NFL wanted to fuck with people. I mean, they could have one team draft 7 fictional players, and almost no one would know the difference.
No, nobody would have any clue. Yeah, and then people pretend, that's a terrible pick. Oh, that's a great pick. No idea. Nobody knows. You have no clue. And if you think you have a clue, you probably don't have a clue. There's experts out there. Some of them kind of have a clue, but also it's like these are like literal children getting drafted into professional sports. There will be injuries. There'll be attitude things, there will be team it's all like it's just a giant crapshoot. But 80 million people are going to be watching it right now and throughout the weekend. So
I mean, if you watch college football, I could see getting into it because at least you know who they are. But see, football, see, football is also tricky because even if you are a big college football fan, you still might not know Snodgrass, the guard from Arkansas. You know what I mean? Like, who again? Maybe I'm making him up. Maybe I'm not. No one knows the difference. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
if
the
football,
left guard from Arkansas. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
So that's the other thing. Like the NBA draft, there was a period where it really, really sucked hard because when they had the early entry, all of the top picks were high school players and Euros.
Yes. Everybody
And
was
it's
looking
like,
for the next Dirk, and everybody was looking for the next Kobe and LeBron. And
there's like no point watching because you know nothing about any of the players. You never heard of any of them. You're complaining about players that you just found out about 3 days ago.
yeah, well, unless
like,
you're in mixtape, bro, because that's always been a phenomenon in at least the basketball circles is like these 13-year-old kids on like mixtapes or whatever on ballislife.com
so
or whatever.
gross.
So you've known these kids for a while, but all you've seen is like, you know, them taking jump shots at AAU games and like dunking over, you know, five kids. And you're like, all right, looks pretty good to me. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, he's better than all those people, but like, I don't know about professional basketball. Like, he's better than like the kid down the street, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Look at that handle. Okay, well, it's a highlight tape. I sure hope he's not dribbling off his foot in this highlight
Ball
tape.
is life highlight film.
Yeah, but the NBA draft's a little better now because now that you have to go for at least 1 year, you know, a casual college basketball fan is going to know at least half the guys that get drafted. Right. And someone like me that watches a lot of college basketball, I'm going to know practically everyone that gets picked. And you know, it's only a 2-round draft too. That's the other thing.
Right. You're just going to unfortunately be wrong about if any of those guys are going to be good or not because you watch them in college and you're like, wow, this guy's got a big body. He looks like he's going to be, he's 6'9", nice big body. And then like, yeah, he never plays and just, you know, is out of the league in a year. So.
I can run off a dozen college players who I never thought would amount to anything in the NBA because they couldn't shoot. They're terrible. And then halfway through their rookie year, they have a 3-point stroke. How does that happen? Like you forget that these players,
they get in the gym, they work. Yeah.
Yeah, you forget. It's a lot like, you know, young wrestlers where it's dangerous to write them off because you forget that some of these guys are still like 18, 19 years old and they're still developing. And they couldn't shoot in college, and then they get to the NBA and they're making 250 threes a year. And they're shooting, you know, 39% from 3-point range. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, but at least you know the players. I don't know. Come on, these drafts like
MLB is like I have no thoughts on the NHL draft because I've never once in my life watched the even when I was watching hockey, I never watched the NHL draft because I don't know like Canadian junior hockey, and I'm never gonna know Canadian junior hockey, so I just like stay out of it. Or Russia, you know, I don't know Russian leagues, anything like that. But I do like the MLB draft only because you know for a fact that everybody that they're talking up, like 80% of those guys are never going to make it to the league. So they have to every single pick be like, oh, he's an intriguing arm from, you know, Texas. And they show these like 3 clips of him, you know, throwing and like, oh, and then Harold Reynolds is like, you know, I think he's got like a Clayton Kershaw type approach to the game. And it's like, this guy is his arm is going to explode and he's going to be flipping burgers by the time he's 22 years old. Like you have no idea what you're talking about, but they have to, they can't say like, hey, look, all these guys are most likely going to suck. Like 3 of these guys that we're going to mention over the next hour are ever going to amount to anything. But let's, you know, at least just, so they have to have discussions about all these guys. Oh, he's got, you know, all fields power and It reminds you of a young, you know, Otani, and it's like, no, get out of here. Like, it's just a dude. Like, get out of here.
I'm very much a grump with these drafts. I'm such a buzzkill with it. I tried to put on the MLB draft last year for
it's absurd.
Like 10 minutes in, like after, you know, oh, I know that guy from Out of the Park. Like after saying that to myself 2 or 3 times, I'm like, why am I watching this? I can't have opinions on this. I'm not out there scouting high school pitchers. I don't know anything about Emerson Hancock. So why am I pretending to know anything about Emerson? So you just wave your hands and
yeah, I do kind of. I wish I still had, but I've become maybe no fun as well because I used to watch all these drafts. Me and my friends would get together. We would do the bad pick. Oh, what a good, you know. And then like, you know, my buddies ask me these days. Like I have one friend that was like, oh, you know, do you want to come over for the NFL draft? I'm like, no, I don't want to come over for the NFL draft. Why would I want to do that? Like, you know, I think I got friends now watching it and reacting and what a pick. And it's just like, and I feel bad because that was fun back in the day, but like. I reached a point in my life, like you said, where I'm just like, this is dumb. I'm not going to do this anymore. So instead, I'm going to talk about professional wrestling for 3 hours. But
far less dumb than watching the NFL draft. Is watching professional wrestling all week so we could talk about it for 3 hours on Thursday nights. Way less dumb.
Yes.
Way less dumb.
Much better use of our time. But yeah, we have a lot of wrestling to get to this week. We have New Japan Wrestling Dontaku. We're going to preview that show. I'll talk about some changes to the show as well. Due to COVID, still a thing, Joe. COVID still exists. Ravaging through Japanese wrestling right now. We'll talk about that with New Japan. As well as Noah. We will preview the big Noah weekend as well, and some exclusive news that we had on flagshippatreon.com all about some of the haps going on in Noah, and it's about to be about what you probably would expect is still going on in Noah. It is still happening, but we have some exclusive news, so we'll touch on that. TripleMania, one of 3 TripleMania shows this year. Yes, they have decided to go the WrestleMania route, where they just bastardize the name of their big show to try to trick people into caring about it. And it worked, because we were talking about it when we normally probably would not talk about AAA. So congratulations to them. It worked out pretty well. We'll touch on some Dragongate departures. And then we're going to bounce around the American wrestling scene, bounce around the indies. We got Impact Wrestling Rebellion, West Coast Pros game related. We both watched that one. Warrior Wrestling 21. There's a show this weekend from AAW that looks pretty good. PWG is back. They are running this weekend as well. Excited to watch that in August, but probably not actually ever watch it. And then Defy. They have a interesting thing going on this weekend. They're airing on Pluto. Yes, Pluto is getting into the live wrestling game. So we'll touch on that in a bit. But yeah, you want to start with New Japan here?
Yeah, sure. Do we have any ads this week?
No ads this week. No ads this week. Nobody's sponsoring us this week. Just us doing it for free.
Man, business isn't booming, huh?
No, they saw the NFL draft and they put all their money there. So
true.
You see a meal delivery kit ad on the NFL draft. You know where that money went. Instead of to us, went to Roger Goodell. The NFL, the coffers of the NFL owners. So.
All right.
Small business like us. You know, it is what it is. It's fine. It's okay.
I'm just trying to put food on the table.
Right. I'm not mad. You're mad. I'm fine. Yeah, I'm good.
That's all I'm trying to do. Trying to cover my nut, Rich Crage. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
Where'd that phrase ever come? Cover your nut.
Cover your nut. Yeah.
Squirrels? Is it something to do with squirrels? Cover your nut.
Well, I'm sure it has to do with squirrels. Yeah, I don't know how that exactly applies to
paying bills.
Yeah. It's not the same thing. Because the cover of the nut is so you could go back to it later. It's
I'd be saving money covering your nut.
Right, exactly. I don't get it.
So maybe it's not a squirrel reference. Where would that come from? Cover your nut.
Cover your nut. I'm afraid if I look up cover your nut, it's going to come up with some weird stuff. So.
Yeah. I hate when people refer to a certain act as nutting. It's gross. I don't like that term. Oh, I'm going to nut. I hate that. I'm hardly a prude. We all know this. But I don't like when people.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, so you found the.
I think I did. Yeah, it's from Urban Dictionary, and I hope that it's true. So, this is from Jim Blood, January 31st, 2004. Shoot name or working name? Jim Blood.
Well, there was Richard Blood.
I was going to say he could be related to Ricky Steamboat. Yeah. One of the all-time. Why did you change your nickname? Why did you change your name from Richard Blood to okay, Jim Blood.
Because he bared a resemblance to Sammy Steamboat from the Hawaii territory.
Yeah.
So and he wanted to be a baby face. If he was going to be a heel,
Dick Blood is not. Right? Yeah, that's a good heel name, but not necessarily.
Dick Blood's a heel name. Like Ricky Steamboat is the quintessential baby.
Yeah,
face.
Yeah. You could just see him going, "Yeah, baby," like clapping the hands, getting ready, fired up. Yeah, it's true.
Right, and he's one of the greatest baby faces of all time, and he had a great baby face name. So you don't want to be Dick Blood. People don't want to root for Dick Blood. You know? Do you remember Bad Blood from early 90s WCW?
Yeah.
Remember Bad Blood? You do. Okay. That was who was Bad Blood? That was was that Matt Bourne, or was it Hercules? Am I mixing up gimmicks? Hercules
hold on a minute. I think you maybe so there was
Hercules was the Super Invader.
Yeah, but there was Bad Blood, the pay-per-view. Is that what you're mixing up, the WWE pay-per-view?
No, the WCW wrestler. WCW wrestler. Maybe it wasn't Bad Blood. It was hold on, let me see if I can find this.
Please do. Yes, this is of the utmost importance.
I guess it wasn't Bad. What the fuck was that guy's
name? The New Blood.
No.
Thinking of the New Blood.
Okay, all right, let's narrow this down. So Hercules, when he came back to WCW was the Super Invader, correct?
I believe that was the case.
In
Yes.
in the 90s. So in 90, it would have been around 92. Yeah, Hercules was the Super Invader. I could have swore there was a WCW wrestler around that time that went by the name Bad Blood, but I'm not turning up any results. Now, it was hold on. I think it was Billy Jack Haynes. Let me reverse search this here. Billy Jack Haynes.
Oh, okay, yeah. What was his name though? I know I have a rough idea of what you're thinking here, but it was Black Blood was his name.
Black Blood.
Black Blood.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Probably around 92,
1991.
Right?
He was in the summer of 91 was the Black Blood run in WCW.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Matt Bourne, of course, is Big Josh.
Of course, yes.
Everybody knows
the
that.
Man from the Yukon. But he wasn't that big. But
so yeah, they brought him in as Black Blood. He had the mask with no eyes. It was just like a black, one of those.
I don't know. It looks like he put him on TV like twice. He was never on TV. Let me see here.
I remember these things.
He was on TV. He defeated Tommy Angel. He teamed with the One Man Gang to defeat Kenny Kendall and Greg Sawyer.
But he wrestled the Great American Bash, the awful 91 Bash. He was on
yeah. Big Josh versus Black Blood. So there you go.
Yep.
Defeated Yellow Dog. That's a blast in the past. If you don't know who Yellow Dog is, that is when Brian Pillman was Yellow Dog.
Correct.
And then, good God. Black Blood and the One Man Gang versus Big Josh and El Gigante. That had to be so bad.
Yeah.
91 WCW was not.
I enjoyed that time, but look, it's like when we did the Starcade review. You don't go back to that time if you're looking for classic action.
Right, you're not opening up the notebook for,
Right.
it is a very fun bad era. It is the last gasp of like the Jim Herd era, and they're just like throwing everything against the wall that they can possibly.
Yeah. So I threw you off. What were you talking about before?
I don't remember what the hell I was talking about.
We got into Black Blood.
Yeah. Yeah. What the hell was I talking about? I don't know. I don't recall. So. Cover your nut. Cover your nut. Because Jim Blood contributed Cover Your Nut here. All right,
there
quote.
We go.
When a salesperson makes enough money to cover expenses. Came from the Western days when peddlers came into a hotel and needed a room but didn't have any money. The hotel keeper would take their hub or, quote, nut from the wagon as a deposit. If the peddlers sold enough, the nut was covered.
So that explains it because they're covering their expenses.
There you go.
So the phrase does make sense. But whenever anyone says, I'm covering my nut, first of all, they're over 60. Second of all, I always picture in my mind's eye like a squirrel covering up a fucking acorn.
Like you and I both went to the squirrel right away.
Yeah, but that's not where it came from. So we learned something here today.
There you go.
Number one, about Black Blood, and number two, about covering your nut. And you skillfully avoided me continuing to explain why I don't like
yes, I did.
the phrase nut
Yes.
for ejaculating.
Yes.
Yeah, I hate that. Or orgasm rather, because I think even women use that phrase now. Like they describe their orgasms as nutting. I hate that phrase. It's gross. It's gross to say that, to say, I'm gonna nut. I don't know, it rubs me the wrong way. It's like when people say cosplay. I cringe. It's just, I want to crawl right out of my skin when people talk about cosplay and nutting, and especially never talk about how you're going to nut while you're cosplaying. That's just like the devil's combination of just seedy person. Only a seedy person would talk about nutting while they're cosplaying. I can't. Yeah, no, I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. That never gets uttered in the Lanza bedroom. I'm gonna nut.
Never.
No, you don't hear it. No, I know. I don't say that. I don't like that term. I'm not a fan of that term. It is a low class term for the act. I don't like it. Like, I'll say many other things, but I won't say that. I don't like it. I don't like nut. Like, I don't refer to the.
I can't believe you're still going. I can't believe this. Go on.
I don't like referring to the the actual the liquid as nut. I don't like using it as a verb or a noun. right? I don't like it in either way. Like, I'm not going to use it as the verb or the noun in a sexual context because I think it's a gross term. Do you say nut, Rich? Do you use it as a verb or a noun in the bedroom?
I don't use it.
You know? You ever say to a sexual partner, "Oh, I'm going to give you all this nut"?
No.
You ever say that?
No, believe it or not, never came up. No.
Yeah, I don't say that either.
Yeah,
I
you and
don't
I,
like.
kindred spirits in that way. Yeah, do not say that.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right.
This is good. I'm glad that Rich Latta in the chat room, Mr. Big Time over here, decided to chime in on a flagship this week. So good. He wasn't, taking private jets across the world with all of his superstar friends. But he let us know that Bad Blood was actually the Great Muda's character in WCW versus the World, the video game. I don't know if you ever played WCW versus the World. So
maybe that's why I got confused.
Is that what you were thinking of?
Of course I played. That game was great.
That one was pretty solid,
yeah. Yeah, maybe that's where I got mixed up in my head. Yeah, that makes sense.
I remember when I discovered, because it was like late in my life that I discovered that all of the WCW versus the World and WCW World Tour and all those guys were all dudes from Japan. Like, I had no idea as a kid. I was just like, because they were all my favorite characters. I was like, these are really, I like never played as the WCW guys. I'm like, I don't want to play as, what am I going to play as Jeff Jarrett for? I'm going to play as Rick Steiner. Get out of here. I'm not going to play as these guys. I'm going to play as, Blackheart and, Bear Breath or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm like, these guys fucking rock. Yeah. Like, Black Ninja, these dudes are incredible. These are great. Like, these characters are so good. And I'm thinking, man, where do they get the ideas for these characters? These characters are awesome. They do way cooler moves. They look cooler. They're much more. And then as I discovered Japanese wrestling, I was like, holy shit, of course. Like, that's why I loved Hayabusa, because he was this character in WCW World Tour and he fucking rocked. Like,
Hayabusa was Habanero, I believe.
He was not. He was Hannibal. He was Hannibal. Yes.
Hayabusa?
Hayabusa was Hannibal in WCW NWO World Tour. I don't know about WCW versus the World. Let me.
He was Habanero, the pepper, Habanero pepper.
Let's see. You probably know more WCW versus the World, I guess.
The other one I remember was Road Warrior.
Yeah, you're right. Habanero. Yeah, he was Habanero and Hayabusa.
And Road Warrior Hawk was Overdose. Overdose, right? Don't fact check me because I'm.
Yep, Overdose. Yeah. Yikes.
Yeah. So that was a funny one too. And Tiger Mask was Jaguar, which was easy to remember.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. There was a Bear Breath. It was either like
Bear Breath. Yeah, Gary Albright. Gary Albright was Bear Breath. Yeah. I remember that later. Yeah. So I know most of the guys from World Tour. Like Sumo Joe was my favorite character forever. I always played as Sumo Joe, and I had no idea. And then like when I discovered that was Tenru. And then I watched Tenru, and I'm like, oh my god, Tenru's incredible! Like, this is awesome. This is so good. But that's. I want to play some World Tour. So.
Yeah, there was in Versus the World, there was a Kimchi, but it was not Kamala's handler.
No, that was Koji Katao, right?
If you're looking at it, I don't know.
I think so. Let me see.
There was a Kimchi.
Well, he was. There was a Kimchi that was Koji Katao in WCW NWO World Tour. Yeah. Okay. It was same as Versus the World. They kept that name, so that was Koji Katao both times. So
yeah. No, those games were really good.
Okay, I found the most random one here that makes no sense whatsoever. WCW versus the World, Bolt Jameson.
Bolt Jameson. No, who was that?
Kensuke Sasaki, of course.
But I think he had the face paint in that.
He did, yeah. He was Power Warrior in that one, so it makes a little bit more sense. But yeah, just the idea of Kensuke Sasaki being Bolt Jameson. That's a straight out of NXT 2.0 name. Bolt Jameson and Overdose,
Yeah, I got team him with Overdose. Absolutely.
Bolt Jameson is absolutely an NXT 2.0, just goober guy. Like, definitely. He's trying to fuck. Who's the poker guy? He's not. I forget his name now. He's not a poker guy anymore, right?
Duke Hudson.
Yeah, who's he trying to bang?
Guy. Now he fucks.
It used to be the Steph DeLander or whatever, and I don't know what her name is.
Yeah, Persia Pereira.
Persia Parada. Yeah, so like Bolt Jameson is going to try to like slide in on Persia Parada, but Duke Hudson's not going to allow it to happen. So.
Yeah, because the serial killer is still hooking up with the. A droopy face. What's her name? What's her name? She's Australian too. What the fuck is her name? And they're like, competing couples now. They're like, they're trying to one up each other. The show is awful.
It's the worst show.
It's
ever.
terrible. It's really bad. What is that? What is I can't think of his name either.
Dexter Loomis is his name.
Dexter Loomis. He's
Right.
Indy Hartwell.
Indy Hartwell's who you're thinking of.
Indy Hartwell. Yeah. And then the other two.
Is her face that droopy? I feel like it's not.
She got like the chubby
I
the
don't
chubby
think
cheek
it's that droopy,
thing going
is
on.
it?
I don't know. That's
Oh,
how I
droopy
remember.
face. Like she's Takayama. She's fine.
No. Takayama is old melty face, is what I call him. Because but I feel bad because he's like paralyzed now. I don't want to.
Yeah.
But yeah. So, what's so funny? I don't understand.
I
What's
don't
so
know
funny.
why you describe her as the one with the droopy face. I don't know.
Well, what do you call it in your head? Like a
I don't think her
demonic
face is
device
that
or-
droopy. I don't understand.
Well, it helps me remember. I don't
It
know.
didn't help you remember at all. You didn't know her name.
That's a good point. That's a
You
good
had
point.
no idea what her name was, so it doesn't help at all. You only knew her as
I need a
old and
new
droopy
device.
face.
I need a
Yeah.
new- She's a lovely woman. What do you're going to get me in trouble. She's a lovely woman. I would love to date her. What do you want me to say? I don't know. That's how I remember her.
Yeah, I just want to get this show done.
It
so we
didn't
can
work.
Play WCW vs NWO World Tour, but anyway, all right. So we got Cover Your Nuts. We don't have an ad as we have discussed. So let's. I don't know. You want to do New Japan? Start out here.
Oh, we could preview the Spring Breakers since we're
Yeah.
already
You know
talking
what?
about
Yeah. Since we're talking about NXT
Get that out of the
2.0,
way.
let's talk about it. So.
Knocked out off the list.
Yeah, NXT 2.0 is doing their special episode next week, May 3rd, 2022. It is called NXT Spring Break-In, which Joe, when did you? So your kids have spring break, right?
Yeah. They get time off school. Yeah.
Right. They're still in school. When did they have spring break, Joe?
Back when we went to New Jersey a month ago.
A month ago. So
Yeah.
why are they doing a spring break related, like a spring break themed show in early May? Nobody is on spring break anymore. Everybody is well done with spring break at this point.
Yeah.
They're closer to
school's almost out.
graduating. They're closer to graduate season than they are spring break season. What are these idiots doing?
Yeah.
You can't do a
I
spring
agree.
break show in May. In early May. What are you doing? God.
Yeah. Well, doesn't really
Idiots.
fit, does it?
No, it doesn't. All right, so it's a hell of a card, let me tell you, though, this special episode of NXT 2.0. You have Santos Escobar and the SNL Pete Davidson Sopranos segment with Tony D'Angelo. They're in a sit-down meeting. Don't get too excited. It's just a sit-down meeting, Joe.
So this is not a match.
It's not a match. It's a sit-down meeting.
So they're just having a sit down.
Joey Tits or Tony Tits or whatever his name was in Santos Escobar, so...
And they're just gonna have it. They're gonna talk
it
business.
out. Yeah, I think they're gonna talk shop. I assume that a table probably will not be, flipped over. I think they'll just come to some sort of agreement and a non-violent way to solve their problems, which I'm hoping for.
So one guy runs a cartel, the other guy is the Don of NXT, and they're gonna have a sit down.
Yeah,
sounds great.
yeah, can't wait.
Looking
for that
forward to that. I'm sure.
Grayson Waller will be facing Nathan Frazier.
Yeah, they've been cutting Twitter promos on each other. Grayson Waller and Nathan Frazier. Nathan Frazier, of course, or Fraser. Nathan Fraser.
Oh, I'm sorry,
not
it's Frazier.
Frazier.
It's not Frazier. Frazier.
Yeah, the former Ben Carter.
Great career move.
So,
by the way.
and then Grayson
My old
Waller.
Ben.
Huh?
It's a great career move by old Ben here because he's on top of the world right now, so good for him.
Well, we'll see. I mean, with that Seth Rollins connection, he'll probably get called up at some point. But he is really small.
Yeah, he's like tiny
by main roster standards. So
I don't think that's gonna work.
I don't like his chances.
I
I don't like his chances. Yeah. Now Grayson Waller, I think, is a legitimate prospect for them because I think he can. He's one of the few people on that current brand who can legitimately work, and I think he can have a very long career as a Mike the Miz Mizanin style troll heel.
Yeah,
I think he can.
for sure.
I see him. He could have a long main roster career. I think. I'm not saying he will. Who knows? You can't project any of this anymore.
So
But
this caught me a little bit
I
by
do like his.
surprise when we were going through this, because
Yeah,
I like him too. For people that know, he was Matty Wahlberg in Australia,
yeah.
but the thing is, he's been wrestling for a lot longer than a lot of people probably think. Joe, how old do you think Grayson Waller is?
Got to be in his 30s by now, right?
Yeah, he's 32 years old. So
Yeah.
you better hope that
Which
nobody looks
explains
that
why
up ever, because that's not going to go well for him either.
he's an experienced wrestler surrounded by nothing but green boys.
Yeah.
So that's why he kind of stands out when it comes to his bell to bell. Look, I don't think he has a super high ceiling.
But he's
I
got
would
a
never
projectable
project
look.
him out.
Yeah, he's got a projectable look. He can actually go. Like he definitely stands out as one of the real professionals of that entire brand. So
Yeah, and he would fit their main roster like a glove. Like I said, as a heel, mid card heel who could have a long career there.
yeah,
really
basically what Austin Theory is doing right now. He can basically be that type of guy.
The thing with Austin Theory is I think he has a much higher upside. I do think Austin Theory, especially since he has the right people behind him, that's important too. Obviously, that might be the most important thing. But yeah, what Austin Theory is doing right now is what Grayson Waller can do for 15 years. Yeah, I see. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Then you have the Viking Raiders, Eric and Ivar. Yes, they're in NXT 2.0 now. They'll be facing the Creed brothers of Brutus and Julius Creed.
Yeah, the Creeds just need reps. They just need reps, and against teams like that's what they need. There's some potential there, but like most of the people on that brand, they're like 20 matches into their career, and they're nowhere near being ready for TV. But here we are on TV, and these are the kind of reps that they need.
Yeah, I do like that they're not cautious, like, because some of the NXT people that are green are like really cautious. These guys just drop people on their heads instead, which is a choice. I don't know if it's always going to be a good choice, but hey, I appreciate their attempt at quote figuring it out by just dropping people on their heads as long as they can until someone tells them to stop, or maybe they tell them not to stop, which would be good too, because they're at least pretty fun. They're green in a fun way, whereas nice way to relate to this next one: Cora Jade and Nikita Lyons versus Natalya and Lash Legend.
Yeah, I mean, Lash Legend is that's not going to work. It's not going to ever happen. I mean, sometimes we were just talking earlier about how sometimes you can't give up on young wrestlers too soon because they can develop. But I think there are times when you can just tell that someone doesn't have the proper instincts and just doesn't have the natural ability and talent to do this. And Lash Legend appears to me to be one of those people. I can't imagine she will ever be good at this. And that doesn't mean she can't go to the main roster and have a career and be a star if she finds some kind of overwhelming charisma, or someone takes a liking to her look, or she finds the right gimmick. All of those things can happen. But the wrestling part of it, I just think it's a lost cause. She is just not going to. And look, I understand she's had like 10 matches in her life, but sometimes you can just tell. And I truly believe that for whatever reason, basketball is a terrible pipeline to pro wrestling. You can't really point to a lot of examples of people coming from basketball and developing into great workers. It's very rare. There have been people who come from basketball and become stars. Kevin Nash, Big Show, people like that. But you rarely can point to people who came from basketball who became great workers. And
right.
A lot of the people who came from basketball
few of them are like
stars,
go
their
ahead.
height.
Right.
Yeah, no, that was my ending thought. A lot of the ones that did become stars, it was largely because of their height. And if they would have been 6'3" instead of 6'11", it probably wouldn't have happened for them.
Right, and a lot of these people are not high-level basketball players either. Like, other people that you're mentioning are like, they played basketball in college, and that's about the extent of most of the people that you see. Like, in the NFL, you do have some people that were like, yeah, they got actual NFL reps, or, oh, they were like pretty decent in college, or they did, get drafted by the USFL, or they did get drafted by, this league or that, yada, 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 like these sort of things. Whereas, that's just doesn't seem to ever be the case with with NBA or there's almost no NBA player, translation. I think literally zero at this point, NBA player translation. And then like the college translation is like, yeah, it's very minimal stuff. And it's like, dudes that just kind of, and like you said, at the end of the day, it's just, hey, this guy's 7 foot. It's not, hey, this guy's a tremendous worker or anything like that. So yeah, it's just not a very good pipeline, it seems. And yeah, I hate to, someone's, 4 or 5 matches into their career and say, they just don't, have it or whatever. But I don't know. I think you can kind of tell pretty early on if someone's just going to get it. If they're just going to understand the game and understand the vibe of it. And maybe it's tough because we don't see like a lot of wrestlers in their first 5 matches or whatever. But I don't know. I feel like you kind of get a sense pretty early on if someone's going to really click or not. And yeah, seeing what I've seen out of Lash Legend, I don't think that that's going to click. And that's it's
look. She's 13 matches into her career, and 11 of them have aired on TV. That is so unfair.
No, that sucks. It's terrible to put her in that position too. It sucks. It's stupid.
Yeah, because even in previous eras of WWE developmental, a person like this would not be on TV yet, and they would just be looking terrible, in the PC or maybe on the Largo loop, but not on national television every week. She's been involved in some of the worst television matches that have ever aired, like in the history of wrestling. Like, she's really bad. The match this week against Nikita Lyons, did you see that?
I did, yeah. I people told me I had to see it, so I watched it, and that was that's an all-timer. That's definitely an all-timer. That's right up there with any of the worst matches you've ever seen in your life. It is, and that's unfortunately, you said, becoming kind of a theme with Lash Legend. I think we talked about this a couple weeks ago with her too, but yeah, it's just it's not that one was 2 people that had no idea what they were doing. They had a plan, got in the ring, the plan went awry in like 10 seconds, and then they had no earthly fucking idea how to come back, which is just, it's such an indictment on the way that they train people in that PC. It's an indictment on putting these people on national television, which, what are you doing, first off? And also just the fact that these people that, even if they, they're green and they're on national television, like, they're just not, the way that they're taught is just not conducive to actually becoming good at pro wrestling, because the second your script goes awry, or you forget what the next move is, you forget what the next move, counter is, the next reversal, or what you're supposed to do in the match, the whole thing breaks down. And that's what you saw there. They're literally yelling at each other as they're trying to do a crisscross, trying to figure out what the next move is. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, this is, and I don't blame them. It's not their fault. Obviously, it's not Lion's fault. It's not Lash Legend's fault. It's just such an indictment of whatever the hell that system is right now.
Listen, Lyons is no Akira Hokuto either. I mean, let's make no
God.
mistake. I mean, she's not any good either. But again, these people, it's woefully unfair to them. And, Jade Cargill stinks, but she has overwhelming star charisma. And you can there's some matches where you can hide the fact that she's still greener than grass and get away with it. And now she's drawing ratings. I mean, she's a legitimate draw. So it's not to say that Nikita Lyons or Lash Legends can't find something, a gimmick, tap into some overwhelming well of charisma and still make it. But when I watch some of these people in NXT wrestle, it's painfully obvious to me that they're never going to be good workers. It's not in the cards for them. They're going to have to find another avenue. And then you just hope that they're passable, because you can't put that match on Raw or Smack. You just can't do it. It's just, you can get away with it on NXT 2.0. They know that no one's watching. It's a throwaway show. They've got all these green people on it, but there is still a minimal expectation for the main roster. And a lot of these people on NXT 2.0 are not even close to meeting it. And that's why someone like Grayson Waller stands out so much, because he's a professional. He's not Dean Malenko, but he's a professional. So he stands out in a sea of just super green, not ready, never will be's.
And this is probably a good time to plug voicesofwrestling.com. Adam Berger wrote a really, really great article, well-researched article this week about WWE developmental, and, where in the past, decade, where WWE has gotten all their talent from, and how they develop talent and all that sort of stuff. And just how this current system, it's just like, you try to project a path forward for this system and you just can't see it. It's like, when are these people going to get enough reps? Where, in what world do you think that, like, just grabbing people off the street, having them wrestle 20 times is going to make them stars? Like, that's just never, ever happened. It's just a big ask. And it's just, it seems almost completely unsustainable and almost impossible. And you do wonder if and when they're going to come and realize, okay, wait, we got to figure out a different way to do this. And that's not necessarily saying, oh, you got to go back and rehire all the indie wrestlers again like you had. I don't think making NXT a developmental thing is bad. Like, you have that $1 million PC, you have all the resources to try to do it, but like, these people can't just work 20 times like a year. That you can't do that. They have to work more. You have to figure out a way to get these people in matches more, and you also have to figure out ways to maybe not be so ridiculous about the way that you teach them, which is going to be the bigger issue, is that WWE thinks that, they can create superstars by having them work, one way or be one way and talk one way and look one way and do all that sort of stuff. But it's like, that's usually not how, great wrestlers are created. So it seems like just an untenable thing going on in developmental right now. But that was a very well-researched article at voicewrestling.com if you want to read that, where Adam dug into a lot of the research, a lot of the history of NXT and WWE developmental, just to kind of look at the history and say, look, it doesn't look like this is going to work. Like, it seems impossible to figure out a path forward where this is going to work. So we'll see what ends up happening over the next few years. But they could really put themselves in a bind here with basically having nothing coming out of the developmental in the near future. So we'll see. Speaking of triple threat match here, North American title, Cameron Grimes, your North American champion, Solo Sikoa, and Carmelo Hayes. Triple.
And that's Solo Sikoa. That's Solo Sikoa. There's something there, I think. Great look. Wrestles with some intensity. Wrestles to the gimmick. I like what I see there. Carmelo Hayes, my stance remains the same. I'm much higher on Trick Williams in terms of upside. Carmelo Hayes is obviously way better than Trick Williams at this stage. But when I see those two guys next to each other, when I hear those two guys talk, my eyes are drawn to Trick Williams. I think he's the future star out of the two, not Carmelo Hayes. Carmelo Hayes is the kind of guy I see getting called up and just never pushed. You know what I mean? And
what they're going to do is they're going to call him up, and then it's going to be one of those classic Vince things where he sees the manager and then says, well, there's that guy. I want that guy. And then, like, it flip-flops. They've done it all through developmental.
Yeah.
Trick has been the manager and Carmelo's been the wrestler. They're going to go to the main roster. Vince is going to see it one time, and it's going to flip, and Trick's going to be the wrestler. Carmelo's going to be his manager until they just release Carmelo or whatever. So that kind of feels like the way it's going to go. And we've seen that a bunch of times over history where you can tell who's going to get Vince's eye, and Trick Williams is definitely the one that's going to get Vince's eye. No offense to Carmelo Hayes, who I think could be a good asset to the roster, but just knowing Vince, having watched this company for long and understanding what Vince thinks, he's going to see Trick Williams and think that's the star, not Carmelo. And it's going to this whole the way that they're bringing him up in developmental is all going to be for naught when it's all said and done, probably.
I don't think Vince will be wrong either. I mean, but again, you're talking about Trick Williams. This is a guy with less than 10 matches under his belt.
And not getting them
doesn't
many more.
know how to wrestle yet.
Not getting many more on the loop either. So
they're not sending these guys on the road. I don't know where he's going to get the experience, but he's got the look and he can already talk. I mean, for a guy that has less than 10 matches, he's a really good talker, especially in the way that they want their people to talk. And Carmelo just seems like a guy that, he's short and he does not exude superstar charisma. He just doesn't. He's not someone who I'm like, oh, well, you can't ever call him up. I'd put him on the main roster. I'd put him on the main roster for sure. I mean, and he knows how to wrestle. He's got all that indie experience. And he was a pretty good indie wrestler, and he's good here. He's a pretty good wrestler here. But if I'm projecting out stars, everybody talks about Carmelo. I don't even think it's close. I mean, if we were doing some kind of, to keep the theme of this show going, if we were doing some kind of wrestler draft and we're drafting NXT wrestlers and with the idea of, picking the stars, I'm picking Trick Williams many rounds before I'm picking Carmelo Hayes. Like, I don't even think it's close. But Hayes is the one getting pushed on TV, and he's the one that people, the hardcore NXT fan, talks up, him and Braun Breaker, and we'll get to him. And to me, I mean, if you're just talking upside, it's I think it's between those two, it's Trick Williams, and it's Trick Williams easily.
And then speaking of, we'll get to the main event here, NXT title, Braun Breaker defending the title against Joe Gacy. And that whole Joe Gacy thing, since the last time we talked about NXT 2.0, that character has changed a bit, Joe, since then. He is no longer whatever the hell it was before. We tried to describe it the best way we possibly could, and I think we probably still failed. Like, I'm sure people that watch that have never watched the show, we probably did a horrible job of describing what he actually is. But yeah, now it God only knows what it is now. It is indescribable what this Joe Gacy character is now. Basically, dollar store Bray Wyatt. If Bray Wyatt like was a vegan, I guess would be the story. I don't know what this Joe Gacy thing is at all.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's some kind of riff on woke culture anymore. It's just like you're saying.
I
it's some
never
kind of
got the
cult.
joke, and now I very much do not get the joke at all. So I've lost all of it. So
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what he's supposed to be, but it's bad. Like, this feud is really bad. And it's not doing Braun Breaker any favors. And Braun Breaker's someone whose momentum had really stalled out pretty badly to begin with. I mean, right around WrestleMania season, he didn't get over on Raw at all. Like, nobody knew who he was, which just goes to show that it's two different audiences. The NXT audience and the Raw audience are just, because he didn't get over when he went to Raw. Then there was a couple week stretch there on NXT. One week they were chanting Dolph Ziggler's name when he was trying to cut a promo, and it's like, that's not a good sign, because they see Dolph Ziggler as Major League, and they don't see, and this was the NXT crowd. This wasn't even the main roster crowd. And the shine has really come off of Braun Breaker, and I think the reason is simple. I mean, when he debuted, everyone was like, whoa, look at this guy. Even us. We were like, oh, push this guy to the moon. If you're ripping up NXT and starting from scratch, and we're just doing developmental of green wrestlers, this is the motherfucker you want to. We even said so.
oh,
Push this guy.
Yeah,
Look at him.
Yeah.
But now, and I talked about this, it was a major theme of the Thursday TV reviews this week. Confidence. And fans can see through a wrestler who lacks confidence in a second. You cannot hide that. You cannot fake confidence. Fans will see through it when you don't have confidence. And fans also will connect with you when you have confidence and it's genuine. And I really think Wheeler Yuta, the big difference with him is not having great matches with Moxley. It's not that he's scoring pinfalls in these 6-man tags. It's that you can feel his confidence.
Absolutely.
He knows that his bosses are behind him. He knows that he's getting over. He knows he has support. And it's not fake. He has this real confidence, this confident aura around him that you can feel. And as a result, he's starting to connect with audiences. Okay? The other guy on AEW, Ricky Starks, who never really lacked confidence.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, never really an issue for him. So,
but now that he's given Mike time every week, and he's clearly the lead act in Team Taz, and he's on every show, whether he may not wrestle on every show, but they get Starks and Hobbs on every show, whether it's an interview or interrupting an interview or wrestling a match. He's getting the reps. He's doing commentary on Rampage every week. That was by design when they put him on commentary on Dark. Then they gave him a commentary slot on Rampage. That was by design. The big seat told us that. We're going to put this guy on commentary and get him comfortable. We know he's a great talker, but we're going to get him comfortable talking. That's the idea behind that. And now, like last night on Dynamite, he was on screen for like 5 seconds. They challenged the Jungle Express or whatever, Jurassic, whatever they're called. And the confidence coming out of him now as he's, you can feel it. It's palpable. And the audiences, and Ricky Starks is a heel and he's getting over as a face. Every time he's on screen, these crowds go crazy for him. So we're starting to see this thing with Ricky Starks where he's getting over as a face while he's a heel. And some of the biggest stars of all time, that's how they became because they started off as heels, got over as heels, and then the crowds turned them. And how this relates back to Braun Breaker is I think people see through him. He's not confident. And because he doesn't know what he's doing. And he's been thrust in this position and pushed so hard. And he's not ready. And like we've said a million times, it's not his fault, but he isn't ready. And the confidence that he exudes is clearly fabricated. It's fake. It's forced. It's not that natural confidence we're seeing out of other people right now because he doesn't have the experience. He doesn't have that. And as a result, he's not getting that crowd connection that Wheeler Yuta and Ricky Starks are getting, right? Because, again, fans know when a wrestler is confident and when they're faking it. And that's why he's not connecting with audiences and why he's kind of been trailing off since the day. He's got the look, right? When he stands there, he looks like a star. but then the bell rings or he has to cut a promo, and it's just this aura of fakeness that you could just smell it, and it's hurting him.
Yeah.
And I have, I cooled off on him very quickly, and I have gone against the grain, and I think you think the same. I am not confident he's going to be a star. I am not confident at all. He's a little smaller than you think. I don't think size will be a problem for him. It won't be his pride, but he is a little shorter than you think, number one. Number two, the amateur wrestler gimmick is something that Vince McMahon does not like and has never liked.
Hates it, yeah.
So he's going to have to,
it, yeah.
Yeah, so he's going to have to change his look at minimum and change gimmick for the main roster, or he's going to get tight. And look, Kurt Angle overcame it, but that's Kurt Angle.
Yeah, that's like it's. Speaking of guy, we were talking about like you very rarely does like you see one match from somebody and they're great. They saw that with Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle got in the ring one time and they went, "Oh my god, this guy's gonna be one of the best wrestlers ever." And then he was, so they were correct. Yeah, this guy's gonna own the room and be one of the best wrestlers ever, and then he absolutely was. So yeah, that's a one of one. Do not a good way to go about things is don't compare wrestlers to some of the greatest wrestlers ever, because there's a very, very good chance that whoever you're watching is not going to be The Rock, Steve Austin, Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels. It very rarely are wrestlers that way. So yeah, if your comp for Braun Breaker is, well, hey, it worked for Kurt Angle, maybe not the best comp.
Careful.
He's 1-1.
Careful.
Right.
It's like you said at the top. It's like comparing Asa Lacey to Clayton Kershaw. Pump the brakes. That's not fair to Lacey. Okay, it's like the same. So he overcame it, but countless others couldn't. Whether it was Shelton Benjamin and Charlie Haas or Chad Gable, they had to do something else before Vince believed in them and got behind them, because he doesn't like that gimmick. So he's got that working against them, and the danger with Braun Breaker and all of these people we've talked about that are inexperienced. Trick Williams, go right down the line, even the ones that I do think have, and I do think Braun Breaker obviously has some upside, but the danger here is beating the confidence out of them because they're putting them in positions that they're not ready for. And then you could do irreversible damage to their confidence, to their psyche. And then, when they're not getting over and then they're not getting pushed, they wonder if it's their fault. And none of this is any of these people's fault, because none of them should be on TV yet.
Right.
None of them. Except Grayson Waller, because he's 32 and he's been wrestling for a decade. The rest of them shouldn't be on TV, and it's unfair to them. And, I am not buying Braun Breaker's stock. And I know that might be controversial, but I'm just not. I see him. I see a path to flopping easier than I see a path to superstar.
Well, as you should. I mean, that's the smart bet. I mean, look at the history of the developmental. Look at the stars, quote unquote, that they have on their main roster. Like that is the smarter bet. That is the more it's just a better way to go about it, is to be cautious about all these people and not project these people, because it's just especially in this current system, the way that they're training people right now, it's just, he's not going to get those reps either. He's never going to have a chance to get better, and eventually it's going to be a year or 2 years are going to pass, or a year and a half is going to pass, and he's going to have been on NXT for a year and a half or 2 years or whatever. They might start saying, "Oh, okay, let's put him on the main roster, shitting him out the pot or whatever," and he's still gonna have 25 matches to his name or whatever at that point, and he's not gonna be ready to go at that point. He's not gonna be ready to go pro wise. He's not gonna be ready to go work wise. But it's gonna be too late, because they're gonna say, "Well, let's do something with him. Let's go. Eventually." And yeah, that is gonna be where it all kind of stops. And I'd say another real troubling thing is as well that I see in NXT is that they're already relating. They're starting to bring out Rick Steiner, and they're starting to tell kind of stories with this guy or whatever, and it's like, I don't know that he's that kind of guy. Like, I think the path for him is closer to your Goldberg path. It's closer to, that sort of just no nonsense stuff and getting him involved in the nonsense. I know it's, they think that they're telling stories and giving his character depth and stuff, but people just want to see a dude kick ass. Like, just do that, but they're not going to, because that's just not how this company operates. So,
and you know what? If you were going to do that, why didn't you just call him Rex Steiner?
Dude, who the fuck knows?
You could own that. You could own that name.
When I saw him come out with Rick Steiner, I was like, what the fuck are you idiots doing? Like, what are you doing?
Just call him Rex Steiner then. Why'd you change the name? That's not a real name. They could have owned that one too. Now, I did hear some rumors that like Scott Steiner owns the Steiner trademark or something, but it's like Rex Steiner is a fake name and the kid is 20-something years old. I'm sure he would have signed over the rights to that if they wanted it that badly. And then if you're going to tie him into Rick Steiner anyway, why not give him the more marketable name? It just doesn't make any sense.
I'm starting to think, Joe, I'm starting to maybe have a hunch here. The WWE, they kind of suck sometimes, and they're not very good at developing wrestlers. I'm starting to get that hunch.
Well, you know what else sucked? The month of April for NXT 2.0, which had its worst year-over-year numbers yet.
Not good.
It's funny because
Joe, it's lit though. Are you sure? Because I've heard that it's the hotness. it's the dope. it's insert what the children are saying. I've heard that, but I guess, are you saying that's not the case? The numbers are not reflecting that?
No, they were down 25% total viewership and down 42% in 18 to 49 viewership in the month of April.
But Mandy Rose is on the show though, and she's hot. And these
I don't know what to tell you, Rich. No one cares.
Huh. All right.
Nobody cares.
But they have hot women.
No one cares.
And Wale, are you sure this isn't working? How is this not working? They have hot women in Wale.
Well, to be fair, it's also the first month where they were going up against numbers where they were unopposed, and those were still yellow-black NXT numbers. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So this is the first. Right. So they're going up against yellow-black numbers with real stars, Adam Cole and everybody else, and they're going up against they're finally going up against the other Tuesday numbers of yellow and black. Am I making any sense?
Yeah. The year to year, it's a tough year to year because they're now going year to year from when NXT moved, but it's when that NXT moved, the old NXT moved, when the NXT that had stars.
And that NXT,
right?
Yes, and that NXT went up when it moved because it was away from Dynamite. So, that's part of the reason. But the other reason is, look, they've been on a negative trend for months and months and months because the show fucking stinks. It's an awful show. I mean, and I think the viewers realize that they're watching a bunch of wrestlers who don't know what they're doing yet, and that doesn't help. So you're really just drawing the hardest of the hardcore, and so anyway, that's the spring break. What is it called?
Spring break-in. No G's though. G's are for the olds, Joe. You use G, you fucking boomer. This is for the cool kids.
How are they spelling?
Break-in with I-N. Break-in.
Oh, I-N with the little apostrophe.
Yes. Like it's a Sega Genesis game. You know what I mean? It's like a 1993.
Yeah. All right.
Like Skitchin. Did you ever play Skitchin as a kid? Did you ever play that game? Skitchin?
Yes, I get it. Yeah.
Did you ever skitch when you were a kid? Did you ever do Skitchin when you were a kid? Do you know what that is?
I did. More of a 90s thing. Not really. Yeah, well, that's the cool brand. So you have to have no G's and a little apostrophe at the end of the words. So I get it. It's like that is their tagline, right? It's like that.
Yes.
The NXT.
Yeah, watch on May 3rd to see what Mandy Rose's see what Grayson Waller's drip looks like. So the hotness.
Hey, remember when everybody said they made Cora Jade an overnight star after War Games? Remember that?
I do. Yeah.
And wouldn't you know it, she main evented WrestleMania this year. They made a star, Rich, overnight.
Star. I love how many stars this company makes. This company just churns out these stars.
You would have thought on Twitter that night with these not even dopey fans, like fans are fans. They say dumb things. Like people, like reporters, people from websites who should know better. The consensus was that they made a star that night with Cora Jade.
Dumbass.
Made a star with Cora Jade. Cora Jade is in the same exact spot she was in the night before that show, which is nobody watching the show. There's less people watching NXT now than there were then. They didn't make us what were they? Why were she scored a fall in a match and people
star.
The performance wasn't even great. She didn't do anything special in that match. Do you remember how hard I ranted on this?
Oh
at
yeah,
the time?
yeah. It was absurd. It was absurd at the time. We all knew it.
Befuddled by this. Yeah.
It's one of those classic. Yeah, it's one of those classic. What are these people use these words, and it's like, what are you? Don't use these words. It's like we have to be more protective of these words. I think we had that rant on that show. Like let's really like let's use star with the capital S when they're actually a star. Like not just everybody that like has a modicum of a push, we're gonna call them a star. Anybody that wins a title is a star. No. Slow down. Like calm down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, this wasn't even the WWE version of making a star. She was just in a match and she won. Like it was the most absurd thing.
Right. She came out with her dollar store Avril Lavigne thing and then won a fall, and then they were like, "Oh."
With her skateboard, she doesn't know how to ride, and she walked to the ring, and she won a match where she put in a perfectly perfunctory performance. There was nothing. She was fine, but there was nothing special about it, and they acted like this was like peak Minami Toyota.
Yeah.
And she's gonna be a main eventer, and now still nobody watches this awful show.
Right. Masawa taking off the tiger mask and becoming, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's like she's like 20 years old. She's got plenty of time. Why did we have to try crowning her like immediately after that match? You know what I mean? Like I could see what the company sees in her. I think she was signed too soon. I think she's, you know, her promo a couple weeks ago where Natty came out and turned on her.
Oh yeah, just ate her alive. Just ate her alive in that promo when Natty is running circles around you. Oh man.
Yeah, Natty can't even talk. But like that promo was awful. What do they do all day in that performance center? What are they doing all day?
Making superstars, Joe. Making superstars.
You know, and it's like I hate picking on her, but I mean, I'm not the one that said a star was born. You know what I mean? You know, unbelievable. I was going to reference Barbara Streisand there, but didn't they remake A Star Is Born with contemporary actors? Yeah, with Bradley Cooper and
Lady Gaga, right? Wasn't it Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga.
Yeah.
Never
saw
good.
it.
I enjoyed it.
Never saw it. Can't tell you. So
I enjoyed it.
Right.
But I almost went Barbara Streisand, Chris Christopherson. I almost did it. What was that, like 1975?
Oh, yeah, I would
say before I was born. What was that?
Yeah, A Star. The original is A Star Is Born, 1976.
Well, the original is like 1930.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 1937. This one is 1976 is the one you're talking about here.
Streisand and Christopherson, right?
Yeah, let's go with that. I don't know.
Does his kid still wrestle? Christopherson's kid? Remember he was the War Pig or whatever?
Yeah,
what was he?
I feel like he doesn't, right?
Jody Christopherson?
I think it was Jody, yeah. I have no idea what Jody Christopherson is doing these days.
Right? Yeah, it was Streisand and Christopherson, The Star Is Born.
It says here a retired American professional wrestler, so.
Yeah, I haven't seen his name around. Who was in the 37 version? Let's see. This was Frederick March was the lead. And Janet Gaynor. I'm not familiar with them.
Not familiar with their work either.
You familiar with Gaynor?
Not familiar with Janet Gaynor, no.
All right.
I know indie racer Janet Guthrie, but I do not know Janet Gaynor.
She died in 1984. This Frederick March, he looks like a serious thespian. Look at this guy. He's got the little pencil mustache.
Of course.
He's got the little Errol Flynn, pencil mustache going that they all had.
It's a great mustache. Yeah.
Frederick March. He was born in 1897
That's insane.
in Racine, Wisconsin.
Stupid, yeah.
Oh man, yeah. I have to. I'm sure it's available on one of these 19 streaming services I have. I'm gonna watch A Star Is Born, parentheses 1937, like all the film.
Give a one-line letterbox review that you can.
Yeah. I'll do the whole letterbox uppity gimmick and see, I don't mind the parentheses year gimmick, like because there's 3 of these fucking movies. Like we have to know which one you're talking about. But I don't like when they do it for like
Captain America. It's like I get it. I know what movie.
Well, there's a lot of those too.
No,
but but there's a lot of Captain Americas. There was one that came out in like in the 80s that was awful with. No, but you get what I'm saying. Like they do it for like modern movies that there's like, I'm trying to think of a good example. Like Armageddon, parentheses 1990. No, we all know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? The awful.
Like you said, let me think of a modern movie, and then you went to 1998's Armageddon. Great movie though. That's back when I watched movies. So yeah, good stuff.
I picked a movie from 25 years ago, which probably is a pretty common title too. Honestly, I bet there's more than one Armageddon. So I'm failing to make my point.
There's only one that anybody knows.
Think
There's only one that anybody knows, and it has Bruce Willis in it, so that's all that matters.
Right. And he fucking, like, you see it coming a mile away when he decides to die on the fucking meteor instead of Ben Affleck.
Obvious. It's so obvious. Yeah.
He's like, no, Affleck draws the short straw.
By the way, spoiler alert, right? If you haven't seen Armageddon yet. Spoiler alert, so jump ahead so we don't ruin Armageddon for you. I guess you already ruined it.
It is 25 years old, Rich. It is 25 years old. He draws the short straw, and he's like, bummer, I have to die, right? And then Bruce Willis is like, no, go fuck my daughter. I will die. And, like, he stays on the meteor or whatever it is and detonates the fucking gimmick and
saves the world.
And he dies. And then Aerosmith sings, and we all go home happy.
Yeah, everything's good. Affleck got the girl. Bruce Willis is dead, and the world is saved. So we're good.
Affleck, and I mean Affleck. He's not only fucking Bruce Willis's daughter; he's fucking Aerosmith's daughter. Like she's both of their daughters.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
she was in everything for like 5 years, and then I haven't seen her since.
Dropped off the planet.
Right.
Yeah. Gone.
Alive, right? Isn't she still alive?
Liv Tyler. When's the last time she had work? Liv Tyler. Let's pull up the old IMDb, see what she's been up to.
I feel like she was in everything, but maybe it's just Armageddon that she was in that I remember. So,
nah, she was getting a lot of work for sure. For a while there. List of Liv Tyler performances. No, she's getting very sporadic. She's only been in 3 movies since 2014. She was in Ad Astra. I didn't like that movie. No, but the mid to late 90s, yeah, she was really cooking. She was in like 3-4 movies a year.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I thought.
And then she did the Lord of the Rings gimmick. She did all those.
See, I wouldn't know. I never watched any of those fucking movies. So.
And then
you a big Lord of the Rings guy, Joe?
Oh God, no.
I can just imagine you sitting down on the couch.
No.
With your bag of popcorn going, all right, here we go. Here's this 3.5-hour movie about trolls and fucking dwarfs and shit.
Yeah, marching through the woods. Yeah, I can't do it.
Slap your hands together, hit play, grab your popcorn. All right, here we go.
That little creature in the brook, the golem, right? The golem. The Precious. Like, that's the gimmick, right?
Yeah.
Is that the right movie?
Fan? Not a big fan?
No, I wouldn't watch that. Come on. You think I'm going to watch that?
No.
Yeah, no, she hasn't really been getting a lot of work. But
it says here she was on the procedural drama 911 Lone Star. So derivative of 911, the normal 911.
It is. It's those 911 shows are ridiculous. Like, every week there's a new, like, natural disaster.
Yeah, I watched like 5 minutes of one once, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like, does this happen every week? Like, there was like a tsunami, and it was like engulfing Los Angeles. I'm like, "Whoa!" Like, we're really going there, aren't we? Like,
it's like there's a major catastrophe in the town every week. It's time to move. Like, you had a tsunami last week. There's a typhoon this week. Then there's a fucking a lightning storm that sets the whole city on fire. They did one with a zoo escape. That was kind of fun. The zoo escape. That one was creative, I guess. Earthquakes, everything. Like, they're going to run out of disasters. I mean, there's only a finite amount of disasters that you can do, right? Like, how long can they go on with anyway? That's Liv Tyler and her fledgling acting career. Guess an age. Don't look. Think you can nail her age? Guess an age
for Liv Tyler. I would say
don't think too hard. Just
46.
She's 44. Nicely done.
Okay.
Nicely done. Do you remember in the Sunday paper that you'd get the Parade magazine? Do you remember the Parade magazine?
No, I don't remember that. Did they all come with the Parade magazine every Sunday?
Yes,
paper?
They did. So
I guess my mom just commandeered that right away because I never saw it. So
you'd get the Parade magazine. It's like a little, but it had a section in the beginning of the Parade magazine where you would have celebrity birthdays and their age for that week, right? And my ex at the time, we would get the Parade magazine and we would bet on guessing the ages of the celebrities. But it was Price is Right rules you couldn't go over either. So you mix it up a little. Like, you can't go over. If you go over, you lose, right? And then we would, bet a couple bucks each on each celebrity age, and that was something we would do each week to stay close as a couple, little couple game.
Well, it worked, so that's good for you.
Ultimately, didn't work out
I
in
was
the
gonna
end.
say it didn't work great. Not recommended, I guess. So. I don't think that was what made or break the relationship. Maybe it was. Were there arguments about this ever, or no? Did it?
No, just a lot of I can't believe he's that old, like that kind of thing, which, but you get really good at it after a while. But you almost, you were close. Yeah, she's 44. Not bad. What were we talking about? We're done with NXT,
Tyler,
right?
I think we're talking about NXT, but we're done with NXT Spring Break-In.
That's enough of NXT.
Spring Break-In, yeah, that's much more than anybody had ever asked for NXT 2.0. All right, let's get to New Japan Pro Wrestling. They have a Wrestling Dontaku show coming up this weekend. Main evented by Okada versus Naito yet again. This one for the IWGP World Heavyweight title. Okada defending against Naito. Now, the bigger story, we'll talk about the Okada Naito. We'll go back to that, but I think the bigger story, to me at least, relates to the IWGP US Heavyweight title match, which was to be Tanahashi versus Will Ospreay. But Will Ospreay is off of that show now. He had tested positive for COVID. He was not able to travel to Japan, so he is out. Tomohiro Ishii has replaced Will Ospreay on that show. Also, Tatsumi Fujinami off the show as well due to testing positive from COVID. I just love how the Fujinami is just like a normal roster member now. He's just like a dude that's on shows. Like it's not like like a thing that's like, hey, special attraction Tatsumi Fujinami. It's just like, nah, he's just a 65-year-old Tatsumi Fujinami just on the shows, and he looks great. Like I'm fine with it. I love that he's just like a normal dude. 68. I actually underrated his age. 68.
Yeah.
I kind of just like that he's just like a roster member that's like fills out the undercard. I don't know. I don't mind it. It's
the anniversary year, so
right.
That's why they're keeping it real.
Hey, but keep him. Hey, he's fine. Hey, he's in good shape. Can still kind of go. Like it's not. I don't find it. I don't know what you think about it. I don't find it embarrassing when he's in the ring.
Well, they're not like giving him world title matches.
Right, exactly. It's a big difference. Yeah, he's going in there, playing the hits, tagging out, and then he's out. So
he did the main event on the anniversary show, I think. But other than that, he's just in these undercard tags or whatever. And it's not like, they're not pushing him. That's where you run into a problem. Like, it's not even about like okay, so AEW with Sting is another perfect example. They couldn't use that guy in a more perfect manner. You know what I mean? Like. He always does multi-man stuff. It's usually where you can hide him because it's a walk-in brawl, and you can hide his weaknesses and emphasize his strengths. He never beats anybody that like it's going to derail their push. It's always like other mid-carders, and so it's like we always say, we're not like diametrically opposed to using older guys or older talent. Just understand where they should be slotted. And use them in an intelligent way where it's not insulting to the audience. That's all.
So let's talk about that the U.S. title match here, because I think that was a really interesting result of who was going to win this match. Tanahashi, Ospreay. Ospreay, obviously, they're pushing him tremendously. They're also pushing the Will versus the referees aspect of that. Tanahashi and Will felt to me like a pretty fun, interesting match, one that we haven't seen a ton of. So I was pretty excited to see that match, and it kind of stinks that it got taken away. I think it's a cool spot for Ishii to be in, but it's not. Yeah, it definitely loses something to not have Will in here, because I think obviously Will to me is like the runaway wrestler of the year. He's lapping the field at this point, like every single time.
You've been on that train heavy. I mean,
yeah. Wait, I'll talk about it when I talk about Warrior Wrestling, and it's just like, this guy's stupid. Yeah. It's stupid how good this guy is this year. It's just insane how good he is. But to have him out of it, I mean, anytime he's not going to be on a show, that kind of stinks. I mean, Ishii and Tanahashi still has a chance to be really good. But are you with me that like you really were kind of interested in to see how they did this Tanahashi Ospreay? Because I could see it going either way. I could easily see Tanahashi winning that title, but I could also see Will, trying to give it to Will to try to, maybe spice him up a little bit. I don't know. I thought there was a lot of intrigue into that match, and now, I don't know. I feel like it's probably just going to go to Tanahashi, or I guess if it goes to Ishii, it's like, all right, that's fine. I don't know. I'm just not as interested in that match anymore for a number of reasons.
Well, Ishii's not winning, but I don't think Tanahashi and Ishii have had as many matches as you might think. So
that's possibly true. Yeah, that's true.
So I'm interested in watching them wrestle, because I'm always interested in both of those guys. And it's not like that's a match that's been overdone. I can't think of a ton of times where they've actually wrestled each other, and especially recently. But no, I feel like Ospreay was probably going to beat Tanahashi. So I feel like New Japan's really catching another bad break here. because you know by the way he lost to Moxley, and we talked about this, it felt like they're setting up a series of matches. And Moxley's been talking about the U.S. title, and Moxley's wrestling Tanahashi in Philly, correct? It's Moxley and
Yes, yeah.
Tanahashi in Philly.
Yeah.
So, I feel like Ospreay was probably going to beat Tanahashi for the title. Moxley beats Tanahashi and then calls out Ospreay because he beat him once already, and then he challenges him for the U.S. title. It all makes sense, right? That's like right out of the Gato playbook, all of that. And then maybe you do it at Forbidden Door because then the timeline matches up perfectly. So you get your Moxley Will Ospreay rematch from Windy City Riot at Forbidden Door. Fits the theme of that show. It's for the IWGP US title, and you set it up with both guys beating Tanahashi, which is what Tanahashi's role is right now, putting people over. Kind of a gatekeeper to the top of the card. So I don't know. I feel like Ospreay was probably winning for all of those reasons. I don't know anything, but it adds up. It all makes sense. And now that kind of gets thrown. Now what you could do is you can have Moxley beat Tanahashi for the title in Philly, and then have Will Ospreay challenge Moxley, and you could still get to the same destination, just with Moxley coming in as champion instead of Ospreay. Or that could have been what they were planning all along to begin with. But either way, we lose the Will Ospreay Tanahashi match, and Ishii, you could do a lot worse for a replacement.
Oh no, for sure. I think it'll still be like, I'm less intrigued because like I think there was a lot of interesting stuff that could have come out of an Ospreay Tanahashi match. But yeah, at the end of the day, it's Ishii and Tanahashi, and Ishii's gonna bust his ass as he always does, and Tanahashi's in a big spot like this. So yeah, I'm still looking forward. Like going into it, I'm not looking forward to it as much as I was, but like coming out of it, I'm sure I'm still gonna really enjoy this match. So that gets us to Okada and Naito. The main event, it's another Okada Naito match. They've done a bunch of these over the over the last few months. They've got quite a few Okada versus Naito alone. This is an interesting one because we have talked about it. We talked about it a couple weeks ago that the current Okada thing is that he's just winning. He's just going out there and beating dudes. He's hitting one Rainmaker. He's maybe getting a little bit of a struggle, but it's not much. It's like he's basically dominating guys. He's winning easily. It's not a bunch of back and forth. It's not a bunch of kickouts. Like when he puts people away, he puts them away, and he did that with Naito just a couple weeks ago, where he just hit him with a Rainmaker and pinned him, and it was just over. And I'm wondering, do we go back to that? Is there a possibility that Naito wins this? Like, what's your temperature going into this match? Is it just exactly what we saw a couple weeks ago, or how are they going to make this a little bit different in your mind, or are they? I guess.
I think if it's an interesting match because I think if the Forbidden Door main event is really going to be Okada versus CM Punk, then it's a much easier match to book if either one or neither of the men are champions, right? Then it's easier to negotiate a finish or whatnot.
Right, because we're in this time period right now where, yeah, it's Okada's has the title and CM Punk's going for the title in a couple weeks. So, yeah, if that, presuming that that's, as has been, kind of bandied about and rumored or whatever. And yeah, that's, because, yeah, if both come in as champions, like, there's no way to draw. Yeah, it's going to have to be a draw, which, honestly, I'm fine with that, too. I don't think I honestly, nobody that watches Forbidden Door, I think, is going to be upset if those two dudes go out there and have a 60-minute draw or whatever. No, I don't think anybody would care. But, if you want to have a definitive winner in that, then yeah, you got to figure out, that's, I mean, anytime promotions do promotion, you're always going to have where you get to the table and there's certain concessions you're going to make. There's certain guys you definitely will not allow to lose. And I feel like, Tony has been very protective of guys, AEW guys elsewhere. We've talked about that. And if you watch, AEW guys on the indies, like no matter where you are in the pecking order of AEW, when you go to an indie, you have to win. Like you pretty much have to win. A few guys here and there he'll make concessions for, but largely no. Like these other shows you go to, whether it be a New Japan show, whether it be a Warrior Wrestling show, whether it be a whatever show, like his dudes are winning. AEW guys are winning their matches. So he has been very protective of his guys, and New Japan is and rightfully so, pretty protective of their guys. So you could imagine that if you got to the table and said, okay, here we go, if that's the match that you want to do, which is a really, really cool match and a really awesome match, and one that I think both guys are probably into, CM Punk has sort of alluded to him being into it, it is very, very strange if you go into that with both people as the champion. So, I don't know. Yeah, I guess Punk could either just not win the AEW title, Okada could lose it here. I don't know. It's the problem with me is that I think that what's been so I love this Okada reign right now because I like that he's just like he's definitively beating people. He's established himself again. He's reestablished the title. Like, yeah, you can give it back to Naito and it's not going to hurt Okada at all. But I like the optics of this current title reign. So I don't know that I love Naito just winning it here and then once Forbidden Door's over, Okada wins it back or whatever. I don't know. But they've done this isn't unprecedented. They've done this before with Naito. So it's not impossible to do the same story again, but I don't know. I don't like that story at all.
There's also one more major New Japan show before Forbidden Door anyway. So you get through Dontaku and I think there's another show. I think Dominion is before Forbidden Door, if I'm not mistaken.
Dominion is going to be, well, yeah. Obviously Dominion's always the first week of July or the first or second week of July. So yeah, or June, I should say.
June.
So, yeah.
So Okada would have to get through Naito and another opponent.
Yeah, 6-12 they're doing Dominion.
So yeah, I mean, so there's a lot, and then you have to have double or nothing, right? Which is Hangman and Punk. So there's 3 major title matches that have to happen before we figure out where these belts are for Forbidden Door anyway, and this is the first of them. So that's why when it comes to the champions in both companies, you really can't write off the possibility of any of them losing between now and Forbidden Door because, the politics are going to come into play with these matches that they're putting together. So I think Naito could win. I think he could win. Because if you're getting the title off of Okada, who are you going to put it on at Dominion if you're not putting it on Naito here? Who else is ready for that
you'd have
spot?
To go, you'd have to go like real surprise or something like that. But no, I think if you're going to do kind of a quickie little title, I mean, Naito's probably the best guy to do it because,
Well, let's look at this card. Who is poised to win a match early in the card and then march out at the end? I don't see anybody.
No, yeah.
Because, okay, Okan and Cobb are tag champs. You're really not – they never have the tag champ come out and do that. So you can't say Okan or Cobb, and I don't think either one of them would beat Okada anyway. You have Evil and Tamatanga. Neither one of those are going to be the guy to do that. And then you have Tanahashi Ishii. So there's not even someone in an undercard match because the rest is juniors.
Right. Or the only one that could potential would be like, Shingo or whatever. But, we don't want to go back to that right away. That's.
You know what? That's your guy. That's the only possibility.
He pins Taka and then comes out and challenges Okada at the end.
That's the only possibility. He's the only one on the entire show. It can't even be Zach because we just did it. So, and then, now Shingo would be the perfect guy to get the title off of Okada if you want to do that because that Punk is beating Okada and then Okada's getting his win back at Wrestle Kingdom. You see what I'm saying? So the only possibility here is Shingo. The only one that I see. It's the only one that works. But then who is Shingo? Now New Japan has to worry about their own business.
Yeah.
Shingo wrestling at Dominion.
Like, as much as I want Okada and Punk to happen, like, maybe not. Because if it's going to cause all this kerfuffle, then maybe it's just a little bit easier to not have that match happen. You know what I mean? Like, I want that.
I got confused. I guess Shingo would be wrestling Okada at Dominion and beating him there. That's what you would do.
Right.
So that's the only possibility I see. I mean, it's not completely out of the realm of possibility that occurs unless Punk is losing to Hangman, Okada beats Punk in Chicago.
Yeah.
But then Punk's got to get that win back, and it makes more sense for Punk to win in Chicago and Okada to win in the Tokyo Dome rather than the other way around. Right. So that's like it makes more sense to send the Chicago crowd home happy after a go to sleep, and then Okada get it back at, because you could headline one night of however many fucking nights Wrestle Kingdom's going to have this year with Okada Punk, with no titles at stake. So I don't know. I want that to be the match though at Forbidden Door. I mean, I think that's the most interesting potential matchup that can be made.
Yeah, also from a politics standpoint, that's awesome too. But, some people like want to avoid the politics. I love that shit, man. I love the idea that these people are gonna have to sit in this room and
do what we're doing right now.
Right, and have to spend hours just excruciating for no reason because it's fucking wrestling. It doesn't matter that much, but just to be like, nah, we gotta protect that guy. We got like that stuff rocks. Like some people, there are people that grow up in this era where wins and losses don't matter. The Roman Reigns titles come and go or whatever. No, I love this shit. Like old school wrestling where it's like, this guy can't lose or that guy can't lose. Not necessarily the Noah style, which we're going to talk about here in a bit, but a little bit more of, hey, we're going to do this joint show, but man, we got to really get to this table and figure out who we're protecting, who we're not protecting, all that sort of stuff. So that brings an interesting one. Joel brings up a good point. Joel from Super J-Cast, obviously voice of the Wrestling Podcast Network, brings up Ibushi as an interesting case as well, that he should, ideally be ready to return sometime soon, that maybe he can get involved in this.
Yeah, he was supposed to win New Japan Cup.
Yeah.
They even had him in it, but then the doctors didn't clear him. So, yeah, no doubt about it. But it's like, I'll believe it when I see it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's definitely a guy who, without question, he could be the guy to come out and challenge Okada. Yeah, no doubt about it. And like Shingo, he's someone who could beat Okada at Dominion.
Right. You could be justified in giving Ibushi a run. Like Shingo, Ibushi, Will, and Naito are probably the guys that I think that you can do that quick little, all right, they're going to have the title for, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's not going to hurt Okada if he loses any of those four guys, and it's not going to hurt that guy if that dude has a 3-month reign or whatever, 2-month reign or whatever, then Okada just beats him again. Like, it's not going to hurt those guys to do that. So yeah, I think one of those names could probably work. You're going to do it.
Yeah, but I see what he's saying. Like Ibushi would be a big surprise, and would get a big pop. And
if he won, like, people wouldn't be disappointed. They would think that's a cool story that Ibushi came out of nowhere, came back from injury and beat Okada. I could buy that. Like, I like that a little bit more than Naito. It's nothing against Naito. It's just, it would feel like such kind of a weird, you would feel it. You would feel that it's like, we're in this weird predicament. So here you go, Naito. Here's a title to have for 2 months while we're, waiting a bit. I don't know. That doesn't inspire much confidence in me. So I'm
and Ibushi Okada is a legitimate Dominion main event.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and Ibushi Naito would be too.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure.
But Ibushi Naito's been done to death. That's the other thing. Yeah. Ibushi Naito is like, how many times are they going to wrestle?
And they really need to not make that match happen because Ibushi will be on the injured list immediately afterwards because he just loves to kill himself when he's in there with Naito. So
yeah, they're both insane. So anyway, that's why the main event here is very interesting to me. And I guess we talked about Tanahashi Ishii already.
Yes, so. Yeah. But right now that's cool. Like going into Dontaku, I'm interested in 2 of the matches because it's like, I don't know what's going to happen in these. I think it's going to be really interesting. And they're also have a chance to be really fucking good because it's Okada and Naito and Tanahashi versus Ishii. So pretty good stuff. But we'll go to the bottom of the card now. I'll work our way up here. You got Taichi, Taka, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Bushi, Shingo, and question mark. So we'll see. The always dangerous question mark.
Yeah, there's more than one X this week, right?
Yeah,
there's
a lot of
Noah
X's.
X and there's whatever this is. No one's talking about this. Maybe this is a big time player, and maybe this is the guy that comes out and challenges Okada at the end of the night.
Yeah.
Whoever this mystery man is. I don't know. I mean, I know Kushida wants to come back in a different gimmick. Would he fit with LIJ? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it. Or this could just be, since it's an opener, just something silly. So I don't have any feel.
Yeah, it could just be Shiro Koshinaka or whatever. You know what I mean? It could absolutely just be just like another legend guy that they just put in there. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
yeah, because it's like originally it was Fujinami, so it's like if it was like debuting Kushida in a new unit, he wouldn't be a replacement for someone else. That would be something that they'd have planned out. So it probably isn't going to be anything, particularly special.
Yeah. Then we have Hiromu versus Yo. Yujiro versus Tangaloa. Stop me.
So
if you have hot thoughts about any of these matches. Yeah.
Well, look, with New Japan, you take singles matches when you can get them instead of 1,000 guys in a tag. So, and there's stories behind both of these matches. They're not just random pairings either. So, I don't know how many of our listeners are super hot on the Bullet Club Wars, but, Yujiro and Tangaloa is a match that is splintered out of that. So there's purpose behind the matches too.
Then we have junior heavyweight tag team titles here. 6 or 9, Master Wato and Taguchi versus Dookie and Kanemaru.
Yeah, like we always say, you could do anything you want with these titles, and
Always a
it
coin
literally
flip.
does
Always
not matter.
50-50. Yeah,
And none of it matters.
Yeah, none of it matters. The titles will change, or the guys will retain, or whatever. Who cares? It's impossible to really get too much in there. IWGP Tag Team Title 3-way. United Empire, Okan and Cobb versus Goto and Yoshihashi, and Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. Dear God, hopefully it's not Bad Luck Fale and Chase Owens. I can't do that. No.
Okan and Cobb aren't losing this quickly, so they're going to retain. I don't know the point of shoehorning Fale and Owens in there. I mean, I wouldn't have been too hot on just another rematch, but this is worse. Like, you know what I mean? I don't need them in this match.
No.
I don't need this. No one needs this in their life. You know, it's I guess you could have done, I guess they're on the tour and they couldn't figure out Fale, Owens, and Yujiro.
The thing is, here's the thing. The result was they didn't give us just they gave us 2 singles matches instead of a meaningless 6-man.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm okay with that. They gave us Hiromu and Yo in Yujo versus Tangaloa instead of just lumping all those people into a random 6-man. So
yeah, you're probably right.
Or a random 8-man or whatever like that. So I guess I prefer. Fine. Fine. Just don't give them the titles. Please don't have them win. That's all I ask.
No.
And they're not going to. And I really do not think they're going to. So.
No. This is all about Okan right now. You know, that title reign. It's Jeff Cobb has been elevated to Cobb has hit his ceiling. He's going to be an upper mid-card guy for the duration of his New Japan career. This title reign, and that elevation came at the last G1, right? This tag title reign is for Okan because this is part of his elevation because they want him to be a true top guy. So they're not going to lose yet. You know, so and like you said, they just didn't. Yeah, you get the 3-way instead of an 8-man tag, another spot on the card.
Never open weight title. You got Evil versus Tama Tonga. Excited about Evil versus Tama Tonga.
They shot an angle for it, and you're either into that feud or you're not. I mean, I'm not as down on it as a lot of people are, because I think at least it's something different for the Bullet Club and all of their different offshoots. I'll probably be tired of it after a while. They haven't really done anything else big with it yet. I think something's going to happen with the Elite and the Undisputed Era and Jay White in AEW leading up to Forbidden Door or on Forbidden Door, which is going to be part of it all. So we're kind of in a holding pattern right now. This show, some things will happen. And then people seem to think that like Adam Cole and Jay White are just going to team up on Forbidden Door and be pals. Do they not know Jay White's MO of his character?
His entire character?
Like, the whole essence of his character is you can't trust him, and he's out for himself, and he'll turn on anyone. And, like, obviously those two are not going to be, something's going to happen there. So, but the Bullet Club Wars, I'm going to give it every chance to hold my interest.
Then we have junior heavyweight title here, Desperado versus Taiji Ishimori. So that should be pretty fun as well. Yeah. Those two dudes, great chemistry between them, and a pretty fun match. So.
Yeah. Despi's having a good reign, and I thought he would lose the show, but he didn't, which I'm fine with. And he's not a mid-level junior anymore. Like, he's a legitimate top-level junior now. So, and I've always been a big Despi fan, and that's good to see.
Yeah, they legitimately did move him up the card. That was something that we never really thought they were going to do, and we kind of were wrong about that. And I'm happy to be wrong about it because we just thought he was always in one little spot, and circumstances led to them kind of saying, "Fuck it, let's make this guy a guy." And he's had a great. He's taken the ball and definitely run with it. So excited to see it. And he obviously moved his merch. He's super over. So. This looks like a hell of a show. This Dontaku. There's a lot of the top 3 all look really, really good. And I think there's enough intrigue in a lot of the other stuff. 2 singles matches on the undercard. Obviously they're not maybe the best singles matches you can have, but they're still intriguing singles matches. And the top 3 matches all look pretty good. And Evil and Tama Tonga has a chance to be pretty fun as well. So that's Wrestling Dontaku. It is this weekend. We'll obviously watch that and review it next week on the show. But let's. So we talked a little bit about COVID ravaging Japanese wrestling. It also hit Pro Wrestling Noah as Kaz Fujita is vacating the GHC heavyweight title. He tested positive for COVID. He was supposed to face Go Shiozaki this weekend and Noah's Sumo Hall show. 2 nights in Sumo Hall, back to back for Noah. In Japan, if you can't make a match for whatever reason, they decide that you must be stripped of the title. So Kaz Fujita, who just recently won it, is stripped of the GHC title, and now we're in a little bit of a limbo here with this GHC title vacant as of this recording right now at 9:08 p.m. Central Time on the 28th. We do not know who Go Shiozaki is facing in the main event of the April 30th show on Saturday. But a lot of stuff going in and around Noah, a lot of stuff going on in and around Fujita. And you detailed it on a post at flagshippatreon.com. So let you plug away on that. Give as much detail as you want here. But if you want the full detail, $5 tier, flagshippatreon.com, voiceswrestling.com/Patreon, or patreon.com/voiceswrestling. $5 tier for all of that news. Noah news and notes, because there is a lot going on, some juicy stuff in there. Probably not going to get to all of it here, but what do you want to talk about here as it relates to Fujita, GHC title, and Noah's Sumo Hall weekend?
Well, the first show with Aita and Hayata, that starts in a couple hours.
Right.
So these two shows, these two majestic shows, these back-to-back nights in Sumo Hall, they're about to happen. A lot of people will listen to this after Fujita's replacement is known and after the match is over. But as of this live show, and I did put the report up a couple of hours before we went live, Kaito Kiyomiya did challenge Shiozaki at the presser. So it would make sense that it would be him. But it's odd that the company never officially they haven't officially announced anything yet. And one of the shows is happening in a few hours. So they might be announcing it at the show. It's really their last chance to announce something. I mean, so we're going to have to find out in a few hours who Shiozaki is facing in this decision match. But what's interesting to me is one of the things I detail behind the paywall is that Fujita did push for to not be stripped. Now, they already stripped him of the title. He pushed to not be stripped of the title. He didn't want to be stripped. What he pushed for was for the tag match with the Mystery Man, with the X, to be moved into the main event slot, and he just comes back when he's healthy as champion. But they already...
That's not how they do it in Japan. I know that he's
right.
Kaz Fujita, and he thinks he's above this, but that's not how it's done. I mean, for better or for worse, I would just, especially in these circumstances, I think they've caused a lot of issues on their own by doing this sort of policy that, hey, if we've announced the match and you can't make it for that match, then you have to vacate your title. I don't love it, especially in this sort of atmosphere. It's not like a big injury. It's not something that's going to take somebody out for if you're out because you tore your ACL or whatever, sure, that's fine. But we all know the score here. I think it's perfectly fine to just say, hey, this person is out because of COVID. They'll be back in a couple weeks, so we're just going to not do this match now. We'll do it a little bit.
Yeah, it's the old school mentality.
It is what it is. It is what it is. Yeah, it's not. It's not changing.
No, because it's the old school thing where the papers report it as a shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Right next to the baseball results is the wrestling results, and they treat it like you can't defend and you're no longer champ. But Jon Moxley couldn't get over here while he was U.S. champion, and they just let him hold that title for a year without stripping him. So it's like we've seen the rules bent at different times, and I know that's New Japan and this is Noah. But the other thing that he pushed for was because he doesn't want his title reign to end. So he also pushed for an interim championship. But, we don't even know who Go's opponent is. That interim championship proposal, as we speak, is still on the table. Because we don't know what they're doing with that decision match because they haven't announced it yet. So it's still possible this guy is going to get his way and not... But they did announce he was stripped. You see? So it's like, could they on tonight's show say, all right, we're going to have Go Shiozaki versus whoever the fuck for the interim championship, and they will face Kaz Fujita, at Cork and Hall or wherever the fuck, at some point. I mean, nothing's off the table here. And it's odd because they haven't announced anything. Normally they're ready and prepared and know what they're going to do. And if it's Kiyomiya against Go, then you have to replace Kiyomiya in the tag team match with the X.
Right.
And that X is allegedly a major star, and it's not going to be a letdown, and it's someone who no one's going to be let down by. Well, then maybe they were going to shoot some kind of angle with that guy in Kiyomiya. And maybe that's why they're hesitant to announce Kiyomiya for the title match, because they don't want to take him out of that tag. This is all just weird. They haven't said anything yet. And they haven't told us what's going to go down, because that's normally not how these types of things are handled. They announce that the person is stripped and they have the new match ready. And that's not the case here. And it does make you raise your eyebrow, especially when you consider all the drama in that company and how the talent does have a way of pushing around the office. And, so it's hard to plot out what the plan here is. And the other factor is, Fujita was already penciled into that Budokan Hall main event in July. So if you strip him of the title, which they've already done, and put the title on someone else in 2 nights on the 30th, now you have to find a way to get the title back on Fujita before July, right? So whoever wins that match on the 30th is like a lame duck.
Right.
So they may have been better off not stripping him and either doing his interim champ idea, or like you're saying, just listen, bend the rules for once, because COVID's a special circumstance. And we know that people are only, off the table for 10 days.
Right. We know the score now. So it's like, it's he can't appear at this show because of, I get it. I get why they have the mentality that they did. I get why, but like, it's caused a lot of issues. There've been a lot of people that have had titles moved and matches moved and these things. And I just think in this case, it's like, it's fine. Just let it, let it be. But yeah, that's just how they do it. There was one many, many years ago where like Togi Makabe had like a sore stomach and they like took away the Never title and like ruined like a long time story that they were telling. Was it when Makabe was facing
Never title? It was he had the flu, I think.
Yeah. It was like, he's gonna be out for like one day. Like, you don't have to take the title away from him. Like, and they were telling this great like multi-month story with Makabe and Ishii or whatever. And then like, the man got the flu and they're like, oh, they can't have the title anymore. It's like, no, it's fine. Like in these cases, like it's fine. But I get it. I totally get it, and I understand it, and I respect it that obviously that they are steadfast and, well, no, that's that's the way it is, and that's our ideals and the way we approach this. But yeah, in a case like this, you're just causing yourself a lot of issues.
You know what though? I prefer this to having no standards and no
right.
rules.
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. If given both options, give me this for sure. But,
yeah, even if they're And I guess the counter argument would be, if you make exceptions, then you no longer have a standard.
Right. True.
You either have standards or you don't. So, Gordon Ramsay says that all the time when he goes in these fucking failing restaurants. You either have standards or you don't. You can't have them half the time. The line from Boardwalk Empire: you can't be half a gangster. You're either a gangster or you're
right,
not.
yeah.
Like, you either have standards or you don't in these cases. So I understand it.
But anything else that you want to touch on with the news report before we get into the Sumo Hall weekend?
No, I mean, there's more there. It's the end of the month though. I don't want anybody to buy a sub today. Like, buy a sub on the 1st, because if you buy a sub in the next 48 hours, you're going to get charged twice just because of the way Patreon bills. So we always tell people this at the end of the month. Just wait until it's the 1st in your part of the world. And sub then, because then you get a full month for your money instead of getting a day or two for your money. And then they're going to charge
we appreciate it, but like, wait 2 days and then pay the same amount and get the same amount of content. You know what I mean? Like,
and then just read it then. I don't want people to get stuck with that. And I think Patreon warns them anyway. I think when you buy a sub, it says you are going to be charged again in X amount of days. Do you still want to? So I and that is fair, and I'm happy that they do that. But so there's a lot of other stuff behind the paywall too. The new Jovember just went up the other day. The Vacation update from Alaska went up the other day.
The Jovember, everything you could possibly want to know about the Philly Mob Wars of the 80s is all. Yes, it makes no sense. You're wondering what the hell. I thought it's an ECW review. It is, but yeah, there's some nice little nuggets in there. But people want you to cover more mob stories. I think that's your new pivot, is just mob history guy. So,
well, I I did like 40 minutes on the Philly Mob Wars alone, and I said I can't
In
do
good conscience, I can't put this up. Yeah.
40 minutes of the Philly Mob Wars and then another 40 minutes of the rest. I can't do 90 minutes and have 40 minutes of the show be Philly Mob Wars. So I deleted it, and then I condensed it down to like 18 minutes of Philly Mob Wars or whatever it came out to. And then, because I was like, people are going to be bored and they're going to be like, what the fuck is this? And then people were like, oh, I love the Philly Mob Wars. I wish there was more in it. I'm like, well, I could have left the 40 minutes in that case, but then I got rid of it and I did the Cliff Notes version of the Philly Mob Wars. But, I mean, November is weird in that it's not just, you're not just getting reviews of these dopey hardcore TV shows. I try to do a little different, and I want to give people what it felt like to live and be in Philadelphia during that place and time. And
right, why ECW was ECW, why they cultivated that audience, that brand, and it all worked perfectly. Like, there's a lot of reasons that go into it. It's not just that Sabu was there. It's not just that Paul Heyman was booking. There's a lot of factors that related to making ECW. A lot went into it.
Yeah, so that's why I try to make the shows feel that way. And Eddie Gilbert, he held up a newspaper and made a joke about a mob hit, and I tracked down exactly what mob hit he was talking about, and then I gave and I learned a lot too. Like, I knew a little bit about it because I'm into that shit, but I learned a lot too researching it, and I was able to narrow down and pinpoint exactly which mob hit he was referring to on the show. And then I give a whole backstory of Philadelphia Mob Wars that ran from about 1980 till the late 90s. So but anyway, that's a decent chunk of the new November.
If you want to pivot to mob stuff, I live in Chicago. I work literally 100 feet from where Frank Nitti shot himself. So I mean, I can go on assignment. I'm in a hub. We can do it. We can absolutely do it. So anytime we need to. I'm in the one of the epicenters of the mob. So I'm more than happy to to start doing that.
Yeah, I mean, people seem to like it. I mean, I put the news bits from like Walter Cronkite in there. It was,
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Dan Rather.
When news was news, Joe. Oh, I loved it. It was nice and charming to be like, well, now we go to Philadelphia where a mob war is. It's like, to some people, it's like boring as hell. It's not sensationalist at all. It's just like straight hard news. It's stuff. So.
Yeah, it's funny because the first news bit is from 1980, and it's it's Walter Cronkite rolling it out.
Was he putting out a cigarette as he started the?
Yeah, he's putting out a cigarette on the heel of his shoe as he's setting up this mob segment, and I can't think of his what's his catchphrase when he signed off. You probably don't, because I know you're probably. I mean, we're both too young for Walter Cronkite for fuck's sake. But he had a catchphrase that he used. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Oh yeah, okay. So it come out of the news report on the murder of Angelo Bruno, the Philly mob boss, and he gives his "and that's the way it is" catchphrase at the end. He goes, "I'm Walter Cronkite, and that's the way it is." And because it's 1980, there's a little addition there where he goes, "and the hostages in Iran have now been in captive for 100."
I'm keeping you updated on the hostage
and
situation.
and I was hoping to keep that bit in, but Andrew Rich cut it off at the end of the news report, and he didn't include the Cronkite bit at the end. I mean, it wouldn't have added anything to the show. Like, I'm not mad at him or anything, and I didn't. And I told him, but I was like, I probably should have told him to keep that Walter Cronkite bit in.
Yeah, it's just definitely a time capsule for sure, as he's updating you 184 days for the Iran hostages. I'm Walter Cronkite.
And that's the way it is. Like, and then he gives this, and it's like, wow, news is not like this anymore. It's totally different now. But yeah, what else is back there? Thursday TV reviews.
A shit ton of stuff right now. So we got the Thursday TV reviews that you just posted, obviously, before this show went live. So as you covering this week's episode of AEW Dynamite with Scorpio and Sammy, with hair versus bald, so a bunch of other good stuff going on there. The Noah news and report that we just talked about there, so all the scoops that we know about Noah, all the news, all the backstage drama, all that sort of stuff going on. As you mentioned, Vacration, my travel guide through my my trip to Alaska. So I give you some tips, what I did, and more than happy to answer any questions if anybody is on their way to Alaska as well. I can give you some ideas of what I did and different things that I experienced or whatnot. So if you want to follow my path, match of the week, your weekly match of the week: Jimmy Valiant versus the Assassin #2 from March 17th, 1984. A hair versus mask match, a really interesting one from the Mid-Atlantic territory. So that is a lot of fun. So we'll watch that and discuss that over at Flagship Patreon. And also the Slamboree Jamboree, my new VOW retro series covering the main events of Slamboree. 1993 is out. 1994 should be out very, very soon as well. 1995 probably the next few days as well. So yeah, we're going to cover each and every one of these Slamboree. I wanted some WCW in my life again, and I got WCW in my life again. So covering each Slamboree main event. In the first episode, unfortunately, I called Davey Boy Smith Jr. every single time. I realized that I have a tick where when I say Davey Boy, I just always finish with Davey Boy Smith Jr. So, sorry about that, but I did that a bunch of times. So I think of the British Bulldog as the British Bulldog, and I think of Davey Boy Smith as Davey Boy Smith Jr. You know, it's a very tough thing to do. So I fucked up, but I was not talking about a 4-year-old David Hart Smith or whatever. I was talking, or Harry Francis Smith or whatever his real name is. I was referring to David Boy Smith, but yeah.
Well, when did fucking Ring Rats or Mat Rats or whatever it was called? When did they were? How old were they when that shit started?
Oh yeah, 17 or something like that, 16 or 17, I think. Yeah, when him and
Teddy
Tyson,
Hart,
yeah,
Davey Boy Smith, and Jack Evans.
I don't believe it was called Ring Rats. I believe it was called Ring Brats. I think
it was Mat Rats
or Mat Rats. Mat Rats. Yeah, that's right. I don't think it was called Ring Rats.
Ring Rats. Teddy got the Ring Rats later.
Show, yeah, I was gonna say Teddy could star in that show. Yeah, these days.
Who else was in that? Jack Evans was in that.
Jack Evans was in it. Yeah, it sounds like a great idea. Unfortunately, that lifelong failure Eric Bischoff was in charge, so it didn't work. So
T.J. Wilson was in it. Right?
Yeah.
T.J. Wilson.
Yeah.
Was Jack Evans in it, or are we retconning that? Was Jack Evans in it?
Man,
I don't think he was in that. He was trained by Alvarez, wasn't he?
He was.
Like
he was
a little later.
I don't know if he was actually in there or not.
We might be making that. We might be retconning that. I don't think he was in that.
We're just naming every young high flyer that was
from that era. Yeah, Blitzkrieg was in it.
I mean, it sounds awesome. It sounds cool as fuck. So
Black Venom was in it from AAA. They were all up there doing Mat Rats. No, I think it was Wilson, Davey Boy Jr., Teddy Hart. I want to say Jack Evans was part of it. Though,
I feel like I feel like you're not wrong. I really do. So
yeah, he teamed with Teddy later, right? Like a short time, or did he not? Am I making that up too? Didn't they team together in Mexico? Teddy Hart and Jack Evans.
All right, so the talent roster was Harry Smith, Natty Neidhart, T.J. Wilson, Jack Evans, Rene Dupree, and Teddy Hart. So yeah, there you go.
We missed Rene Dupree and Natty.
Yeah.
We would have gotten Natty eventually. Rene Dupree, I probably would have missed.
I would have not gotten Rene Dupree out of it.
I didn't know he came out west to Western Canada to do that. I thought he was, busy in the Maritimes.
Yeah, the announce team was Joey Styles and Don Callis.
Wow. Yeah. And they were all they were all children, literal children, right? They were, Some of these people to this day aren't even 40.
Jack Evans is just now 38.
Right. Yeah, they were.
Yeah, Jack Evans just turned 40, like a week ago. Like a couple weeks ago, he turned 40. I've been watching that guy wrestle since I was like 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Incredible. It's awesome. Matt Rats. Well, another Hervey and Bischoff failure, but.
Yeah, Bischoff's got a long trail of failures.
But pay him $20 to hear him lecture you about the wrestling business as he talks about one of his many failures,
including his recent personal bankruptcy. But this man's going to school you on the business of pro wrestling.
If the lessons are don't do what I did, then I guess it would be pretty good. But yeah. If it's anything but that, which I assume it probably is, then maybe not worth listening to. But yeah.
Did you see that clip going around?
Oh, the one where he's like, networks are going to look for programming that add value to their network. So if you're not adding value, you're probably not a commodity to this new network. And people are like, oh, Eric, incredible insights. Like,
not that Say Nothing Bischoff clip.
Oh, that's another one? Oh, okay, sorry.
No,
you know what I'm talking about, where people are like, oh, this guy knows his shit. And it's like, all he said was like, valuable TV properties are valuable to networks. Thank you, Eric. Here's my $10. Thank you so much. Yeah.
No, you're going to love the other one. There's another clip going around of Eric Bischoff predicting the demise of CNN Plus when everyone and their mother needed
Oh
CNN
wow,
Plus.
yeah, a real hot take there, a real fiery take by Eric. So
Not only that, the clip, like he said this after it was already reported that like the layoffs had already started, and Bischoff went on his dopey little business show and gave all the reasons why CNN Plus. Well, I think it's going to fail. Like, yeah, we know they
yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
they laid everybody off last week. Like, and then that clip was going around, and people were like, Eric Bischoff has had it again. Really correctly predicted the demise of CNN Plus. Like,
Who among us could possibly see that CNN Plus might not have been a great idea?
Yeah, it's just incredible. This guy can say anything, but he knows that. Like, that's the hustle, No, he's all-time fraud, as we note every week.
Yeah,
he's eventually going to figure that he's going to come at us eventually, like, because we talk so much shit about him. Like, the day's coming, and I tell you what, he's pretty good at Twitter. Like, he'll find a good way to dunk. Like, he's good at that. Like, he's pretty good at the dunks.
Oh, he's a clever guy. Oh no, he's a clever dude. He's just not a good at wrestling business.
He's definitely clever.
Yeah, he's clever.
Definitely clever. He's not stupid. Like, he's not a dumb guy.
No.
He's actually, very smart in a lot of ways, because but anyway, that's the Bischoff burial hour.
Yeah, so don't give him $10, give us $10. So we have 3 tiers: $1, $5, and $10 tier over at flagshippatreon.com. So again, Slamboree, Jamboree, match of the week, Thursday tier reviews, Joe Vemmer to remember, a lot of other great stuff as well up there. Live flagships, you can listen to this show for some reason live right now if you want, but live instant reactions as well. Double or Nothing will obviously have that, and all major shows. We're going to try our best, and usually can do just about every single major show that happens over the course of a year on the Instant Reaction Live. So that is that. Flagshippatreon.com, patreon.com/voicesofwrestling, or voicesofwrestling.com/Patreon. All right. You want to quickly touch on Dragongate while we're in Japan, and then we'll quickly go to AAA and then get to Bouncin Around the Indies. Does that sound good?
Yeah, there's just a little bit of Dragongate news. Gamma is going to retire. He's doing his retirement match on I think it's a produce show. I don't even think Dragongate's doing the show. I think it's his own self-produced show, if I'm not mistaken.
So he's not going back to he's not doing the new Osaka Pro?
No.
Interesting.
No, he's hanging him up. Do you have that? I don't think you had it. Let me see if you got the data.
Yeah, the Proto show. I don't know if I have it. I'm looking for it right now if I can find it.
Yeah, he's I'm almost positive it's not a Dragon Gate show. So that's a little weird. But what's weirder is Super Shisha is leaving Dragon Gate again.
Yeah.
He's been in and out at other times, but I asked around to all the people that would know, and no one, because to me it's suspicious. Like, why would he just? Because he's going to keep wrestling. Like, he's not retiring. Sisha is not retiring. He's going to freelance. But so if you're going to keep wrestling, why not keep wrestling for Dragon Gate, where you've been there longer than just about every person there? You're, essentially an original at this point.
August 14th is the Gamma Produce show, so we can try to find it from there if we can.
There you go. So you've been there longer than anyone, just about everybody there. You've been part of the the training and all of that. Instrumental in that part of it. It's weird that he's leaving, but going to continue to wrestle. But I came up empty, looking for any drama that might be behind that.
Yeah. I mean, it could just simply be, and we've talked about this for a while, and Open the Voice Gaze talked about this as well, is that just the embarrassment of talent that Dragon Gate has right now, and it might simply be that they had to kind of tell some of these guys, look, we kind of have to start cycling you guys out of this. Like, we just can't have, there's just so many spots that we can have, and for a while there, I mean, you look at a lot of these Dragon Gate cards, and there'd be these like endless string of like these dark matches or these undercard matches. They try to get everybody they possibly could, and little by little we're starting to lose a few of those guys. Like, a few of those guys are leaving, a few of those guys have gone away, and it kind of I don't know. I wonder if it was sort of a, hey, look, we have, we're gonna have to tell you guys, like, we have to move on. We need to get spots for for younger guys. New guys have to get in here. So, and it sucks because like both those guys are still pretty talented, but yeah, they just have an embarrassment of riches right now. with talent, and I'm not, I'm not against trying to give new spots for people, but like you said, it is kind of weird because it feels like Shisha would be a guy that would be kind of Gamma. I get Gamma, did come from other places. There's a new Osaka. If they just told him, hey, look, we're gonna move in different directions, and he said, cool, that's fine. I'll go to Osaka Pro. I'll do this. I'll do that, or whatever. But yeah, I find it interesting that he's the one that's retiring, and Super Shisha is just the one that's gonna kind of float around and do indies or do other stuff. So I don't know. That's strange.
Yeah, I understand retiring. That adds up to me, especially if it's like, look, we don't really have a spot for you, and it's like, I may as well hang him up. But Sisha, it's like maybe it was more his call to leave because, like, ultimately it's going to be your call to leave. But it's like maybe he wanted to work more and was like, hey, you guys aren't booking me.
Right. Or I'm just doing these stupid undercard tags. I'm not doing anything worthwhile. Like, yeah, can I leave? And they said, yeah, sure, please. Yeah, that'd be fine.
And he hasn't done anything worthwhile in years, but it's like, I think it's more, maybe it was a matter of, I just want to work, period. Even if it's the openers that I usually do. And then maybe they're like, well, we don't even have a spot for that. And maybe he was like, well, I really, I want to, and maybe they told, look, you could stay, you could keep training people and working once a month, but let me pull up his cage match and see just how often he was working, because
I remember seeing, but he was in a lot of stuff. It was just like I haven't seen him work in a while because a lot of those matches I'm either just kind of skipping because it's like, whatever. I don't really
the zero match.
Yeah. I'm skipping a lot of zero matches, or they're not airing. You know what I mean? Like, so.
Okay, so he's literally working about once a month, and he has been since. And it's always the opening battle royal in Kobe. It seems like.
Yeah.
So.
If you think you can still go, you obviously,
want to
take that. Yeah.
do more than that. Yeah. And outside of the battle royals, it's all like, 10-man tag openers, which is really been his role for years anyway. But maybe it's just a matter, look, he's 52. But maybe even at that age, he just wants to wrestle more, and they don't want him wrestling more. I don't know. It just seems suspicious to me. I hope we find out more. It's weird, it's like we talked about this when Kness retired. Kness and Sisha have just been staples of those prelims for like decades. And it's weird that that's two more guys to add to the pile. Shingo, Shima, Tozawa, go right down the line. Masato Yoshino retiring.
Right. Oh yeah, that whole generation's getting turned over. I mean, it really is.
It's just they're just dropping like flies.
It almost felt like it was never going to happen, and then it's now in the last 3 years, it's happened like insane. I mean, that entire generation is you have Yamato still kind of hanging around. Other than him, I mean, I guess
Doi
Punch and Doi and Mochizuki and Fuji or whatever, but yeah, they're now like the minority. That
Kagetora and Susumu are still around.
Right.
But now these are all from different classes, obviously, but guys that were around before these last couple of waves of new talent.
Right.
They're and we knew this day would come. I mean, we used to talk about it, like as all these guys creeped closer to 40, we were like, well, at some point, they've got to turn it over. And, now it's happening. But it's a company with a much different feel. If you were a Dragongate fan 4 or 5 years ago and you just dropped out of wrestling for whatever reason, and you get back into it, you wouldn't even recognize the cards.
No,
I mean, it's just
a lot of guys that debuted.
And I know time moves quick in wrestling, period. But especially this has just been.
Well, I mean, they're graduating like 4 guys every year that are like, awesome dudes. Yeah, there's 20 guys in this roster that weren't there 5 years ago that are all like top of the line dudes that are just, it's pretty wild. They've been able to do, but they have Dead or Alive coming up on May 5th, so we're gonna cover that next week. I'll preview that show next week. I've been checking out a little bit of Dragongate, but I know you want to get caught up before we do an extensive review of Dead or Alive. So, well, actually, shit.
We got a week anyway, so.
We're not going to be able to
Oh, wait, when is it?
It's May 5th, I believe. Shoot. So that is on Thursday, isn't it?
Oh, that's the day of the
Maybe we'll watch it that morning. We'll watch it that morning then, I guess. So, is that right?
Well, whatever. If we watch it, we'll review it.
Yeah, let me make sure I have that date.
Oh, it's always May 5th. Isn't it always May 5th?
I believe that's right, yeah. So.
Dead or Alive? Isn't that one of the shows
I think that's traditionally the date, yeah.
Same date every year?
So, well, there you go. So I guess we could preview it if we wanted to, but we'll just. I don't know. What do you want to do? I have the card here, but you're not caught up, so you have no strong thoughts about any of this.
I think next week, if we have watched it, we'll review it, and if we haven't, we'll preview it because we'll go either Wednesday or Thursday like usual, and it'll either have just happened or it'll be about to happen, and we'll run out of time and we won't do it at all anyway. It's just gonna happen. I mean, the bottom line here is they're not doing the cage. I think
no
that's
cage.
Where,
no cage. Yeah.
So, and Susumu, if he loses his match, he's got to take on the Susumu Mochizuki name, right? That's the deal.
Yep. And he must leave Natural Vibes, which honestly he might lay down for the 1, 2, 3 in that one.
Yeah, that man, he probably has to.
Belt might ring, and he might do Bash at the Beach 2000 style Jeff Jarrett and say, "Pin me, man." Like,
finger poke.
Take me out of my misery. Yes, please. 1, 2, 3. I'm out of Natural Vibes. Thank God, I don't have to fucking dance anymore. Thank you.
Pin me, brother. That's be the end of that. You know, his unenthusiastic dancing. That'd be me if I got put in that group. That'd be me with the unenthusiastic dancing. I might just retire, honestly.
Yeah, you might go Gamma style and just get. I'm good. I don't need this.
Rather than dance every night. All right. I did not see Impact Wrestling Rebellion. Rich did, so he is going to take us through this card.
Yes. Well, now I do have a quick question for you. Do we want to consider Impact in indie or not?
No.
Okay, we will not consider Impact.
No.
Get upset if you do that.
Well, I mean, I don't think it's an indie. Do you think Impact's
an either? No, I don't think so either. There was a long time where on our website we had indies/TNA was like a category we had for reviews. People get very upset about it.
Well, here's the thing. They're on national TV.
Yeah.
Albeit low powered, but it is national TV. They do sign wrestlers to exclusive contracts.
Like low powered,
well, Axis is low powered. I mean,
like a low power, like it's 1987.
You know, I'm saying, look.
It's on. It's not on as many subscriptions and cable providers as otherwise. I like the idea that their tower isn't powerful enough to get in. They can only get to Des Moines and Wichita, and they can't get all.
They don't have the. Yeah, remember when radio stations used to be like the 10,000 watt power? Of blah, like that. Yeah, Axis doesn't have the 10,000 watt power of the biggest rock station in Peoria, right? They don't have that. They have they've got the little mini antenna that only 20,000 homes receive. What would you say if not low power?
I don't know if I'd say low power, like low.
What would Brandon Thurston say? Low penetration?
Yeah, low.
Is that what he would say?
Yeah, I guess. Wow.
A low penetration network?
Yeah, I don't know what's the buzzword. Right? What's the buzzword? I don't know what the buzzword is these days. So
I think it would be Axis has low penetration. I think you would not instead of low power.
Okay, all right, I'll go with that. Yeah, low penetration.
They have low penetration national TV, but they do, and but it is national TV. They sign wrestlers to exclusive contracts. They employ major league talent. So I don't consider them an indie.
Okay, fair.
That's my argument.
I don't disagree. I just want to make sure. I just want to clarify that they are not an indie.
And I think they have a legacy argument to not be considered an indie.
Certainly.
It's like All Japan, realistically, is an indie, but it's not an indie.
Right, we can't do that. Yeah, it feels icky to call them an indie. I don't like it.
No, they got legacy and Triple Crown title and major league talent for the most part. So it's like, even though they operate at an indie level, All Japan is not an indie, right? But it's like Impact have all of those things, contracts, national TV, legacy. They're not an indie. I don't consider them an indie. So no, we're not going to wedge them into the bouncing around. You're a heathen. And I hope that the Impact fans come for you. That's what I hope happens. I hope the Impact fans I hope they round up and they come for you.
The dog, the newest bark of the dog can be all about how I even considered lumping them in with Defy Wrestling, this fly-by-night mud show in Seattle. So
I hope the dog of Bark of the Dog and Talon and
Chris Regal.
and of course
Chris Regal from the dead.
Chris Regal,
Zombie Chris Regal.
Andrew Sinclair and Garrett Kidney and the whole gang. I hope they all round up and they come for you, because I gotta be honest, I'm not even an Impact fan, and I'm insulted that you consider. I'm insulted for them. I think that Bob Ryder is going to come for you.
Bob Ryder of OneWrestling.com. Yeah,
that's right. The whole gang. I think you're in trouble, pal.
I would say it would certainly be a thing if Bob Ryder came to get me, but that's a story. If Bob Ryder...
Well, we've seen a lot of zombies in wrestling over the recent years.
Yeah, there could be a fake dead person in Chris Regal, and then a real dead person in Bob Ryder. So
That's right. That's right. All I have to say to you calling Impact and Indie is you've got to be kidding me about that.
Look at that. It's Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. Great TNA content there. Garrett Kidney, Liam Jones. Got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I watched Rebellion. So I, despite disrespecting Impact tremendously, did watch their most recent pay-per-view, which I believe you did not. So anyway.
Was this a pay-per-view or was this an Impact streaming service?
Yeah, monthly? Well, I don't know what this... this had to
I don't know what any of them are anymore.
This had to be a quote-unquote pay-per-view, a premium live event, as World Wrestling Entertainment would call it. It had to be, because this is a pretty big
Was this
deal.
on my cable system? Let me see if the replays are on my cable system.
It had to be. Yeah, I mean, Josh Alexander and Moose. That's a big-time matchup.
All right. Well, let's see. And we could play our bi-yearly game of Joe says what's on pay-per-view on
what weird wrestling pay-per-views are available, yeah.
So let's see if because there would be replays, right?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Also available at voicesofwrestling.com/fight, by the way. So.
Yeah, you get on Fight as well, which is where you should watch it. I can report that on channel 121 is Impact Rebellion 2022 replay in HD. And on channel 122 is Impact Rebellion 2022 in SD. What kind of a monster is still watching standard definition?
Yeah, what maniac is watching SD?
Yeah, who with like their tube TV? Like, what's happening there? Why are you watching in standard definition? So yeah, this was a real pay-per-view. Standard definition. I'm surprised that the cheapskate Rich Craich doesn't order in standard definition.
Oh, never. No. Like I'm cheap about a lot of stuff. I am not cheap about HD. The second I got an HD box. I am not a cheapskate about that. None. There's certain things that I'm willing to spend money on, and if I'm getting a big ass TV, which I am, I'm getting a big ass HD box, and everything is in HD. Everything's in as best quality as it could possibly be. It's absurd. I lose my mind. Thankfully now, like, it's impossible to do it. Because there was a while where, like, I would come home from work and, like, the nurse would be watching TV and it'd be in SD, and I'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you watching this in SD?" Like, she's like, "What do you mean? How can you tell?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? How can you tell? Like, it's ridiculous. It's fuzzy.
Yeah,
it looks like shit." I'd move it over to the HD channel, which clearly looks better. And she'd go, I don't know. I can't tell the difference. Well, what are you talking about? It's ridiculous. But luckily, Xfinity now will just automatically switch you to HD. If you go to an SG channel, it just tells you to go fuck yourself, and it switches it to HD immediately. So.
Oh, they don't even give you an option.
No,
you're going to the
what
HD
are you doing?
channel.
No, we're switching. It says automatically switching to HD, and it just immediately puts you on HD. So.
Yeah. You could hide the SD channels on the guide on DirecTV, which is a nice feature. You know what? This is sick. Both versions are $39.95. Who the fuck?
So now they're a real
masochist.
Version? Yeah, a real masochist that's ordering the SD version for the exact same price. Ridiculous. I'd love to see how many buys they have in that, because there's probably enough to make it like absurd. Like there's enough that there's a reason why they have it, right? There's a reason why they offer the SD, but yeah, at least take $5 off so you know that you're like clearly ordering the SD. Because there's definitely some goober who's like, oh, $39, here we go, boom, and then like it comes up and it looks like SD, so that sucks.
Yeah, I would think that if it's the same price, it's only accidental purchases, right? I mean,
there's probably some
head to head here.
There's probably some weird tube person that like tube TV person, but. Don't be if you're a tube TV person and you're listening to this right now, just I don't like it. They're like $80 to buy a nice TV these days. It's stupid cheap.
Yeah,
to buy a TV. Just go to your local electronics outlet, your Best Buy, your Walmart, your Target, anywhere that sells anything remotely electronic, and you will come home with a pretty decent HD TV for at least $100. At least.
Yeah, you really can. I mean, you can't. They're not that expensive anymore. Rebellion on channel 124. We have female wrestling's most violent brawls 101.
101. So there's 101 other of those.
I don't know if that means there's been 100 of them, or if that's just.
Oh, it's like 101. We're taking you to the school on.
Yes, like you're going to school. It says female wrestling's most violent brawls 101 parentheses non-nude in all caps.
Someone called their cable company. Somebody called their cable company and said, "Hi, I ordered hello, yes, hi." The whole time 35 minutes gets on the air.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello, Mr. Thompson. How can I assist you? All right. So, I ordered Pro Wrestling Women
female wrestling's most violent brawls. Where are the tits?
I regret to inform you that there was no tits at all in this pay-per-view that I ordered. I would like to get a refund. So they said, "Hey, we need to specify no tits when you order."
No tits. There's no ass spreading. What did I order here? So now they put it in parentheses, in all caps, mind you, non-nude.
They used to do that for, at least on my cable provider, they would do that with gay porn. It would say, like, Fisters Unite 8, and then it would have parentheses gay, right. Just so you knew. That,
right.
It's like, well, I kind of got it, but all right, thank you anyway. Like, just like the thumbnail or whatever was like pretty clear that it was, but I like they had to warn you, just so you know, this is gay. And it's like, okay, like, thank you, but like.
The thumbnail was like an oiled up Austin Theory looking fella,
right.
And you're like, I kind of surmised that this may have been of the gay persuasion,
right? But I appreciate, I love it because again, it was the same thing where and how many people their wives were like, "Hey, did you order like Fisters Unite 9?" And he was like, "No, I didn't know it was I don't know what that was. I thought it was I thought it was something else." And it was so they had to put on their gay just so you're aware that it was indeed for. But I don't know if they still. I don't think they still
you're getting
do that
calls
anymore. So
they wouldn't put non-nude or gay if they weren't getting calls by people who were confused. Right. So that's the deal there. Here's the description. These girls just posted bail and are already back in the ring.
Oh, man.
Listen,
so
I can't blame someone who thinks you're getting titties.
Yeah, that sounds like prison. Wasn't that was a whole genre of porn for like 20 years, right? The prison porn.
I mean, this is like a description of half of the videos on like YouPorn. Like, I can understand why someone might think they're getting some tits. I discussed my dislike of the word nut as both a verb and a noun.
Yeah.
I got to tell you something else I don't like, Craig. People who say titties with the D, like T-I-D-D, I fucking hate that. Okay. Nothing is more cringe than calling tits titties with a D. It's just cringe to me. Just say titties with the T's.
Why did we move to the D's? Why did we move to the D's? Is there a reason?
Yeah, why did we move to that? Like, what's the point of that other than being cringe?
Right, because I grew up in the T. I grew up in the T-I-T-T,
Titties. Yeah, titties. Titties, not titties with the D. Like, I hate that. It's so cringe to me. Like, it's like, oh, I have, like, I'm a big titty girl with, like, the T-he. No. Just put the T's back in titties. It's not titties, it's titties. I hate that. Add it to the list of things I hate.
What else is on your pay-per-view provider here?
So this wrestling show has no titties.
Yes,
no
non-nude.
Titties,
yes.
Non-nude. Next up is Women's Extreme Wrestling Brutal Attack, also non-nude.
Oh, damn it.
These are $9.95. But again, Brutal Attack, it says it's an all-out brutal female attack when these hard and sexy warriors hit the ring.
Yeah, what do you offer? You're advertising. They need it. I'm with now the people that call in and say, "Hi, please specify if this porn is gay, if this porn is gay or not, and please specify if this is not nude or not." Because if I'm ordering that, I'm gonna be honest. It's on pay-per-view. It's $10. It's these brutal and sexy women. Like, yeah, they need to specify. I'm with those people that called in now.
Next up, CZW Girls with a Z.
Ooh, is that new?
Wild Wild Women of the Ring, non-nude.
Oh.
This is $7.95, so it's a little cheaper than the others, which were $9.95. This description: there are lady wrestlers, then there are these wild women. Hair pulling, face slapping, even biting can be expected. Again, I think the non-nude disclaimer is fair.
Yeah.
Very fair. Is that it? Nope. Wrestling's Bloodiest Wars.
There's always a
Painful
Wrestling
Hits.
Bloodiest Wars. There's always a Wrestling's Bloodiest Wars. I don't. What matches are on these? I've never heard of what actually is on these Wrestling's Bloodiest Wars or whatever the fuck.
Also non-nude. CZW Origins of Ultraviolence, non-nude.
There's always CZW too. They have to. How much money? They must be making money, right? They have to be. They have to be cut at least even, right?
So it says, follow CZW founder Zandig through his ultra-violent battles where there are no rules. So there you go. And now
So
we're
it's
repeating
just
from
CZW.
before,
It's
so.
just literally a CZW pay-per-view.
Yes, but says non-nude as well.
Okay, just to clarify.
That one didn't need the disclaimer, I don't think.
I think I got that. Yeah, that just sounds like wrestling.
Unnecessary disclaimer.
Did Impact
Zandig.
Rebellion say nude or non-nude or no? It just said...
No. That's Impact is a classy organization, Rich.
So
Non-indie.
they just assumed, yeah, they didn't need to specify for that.
People know that's you're not getting titties on the Impact. That doesn't bother you when people put titties with the D. I can't stand that.
No, not at all.
I don't think it's cute.
Never
I don't
really
think it's
thought
like,
about it ever. So no.
Ugh. Spider-Man: No Way Home in 4K.
Not nude or nude?
Cubs versus. There might be some titties in that, right?
Yeah, no? I don't know.
It's PG-13. Cubs at Braves in 4K. All right, I think we're out of the.
Yeah, we're good now. So. What's going on, guys? This is Rich from the Flagship Podcast, letting you know about our friends at Drizzly. And if you look for it, every day has a cause for celebration. You can celebrate a friend for their promotion, baby, wedding, life, whatever thing. Celebrate yourself for keeping the couch warm. And look, that's no easy task, especially if it's a big couch. Or maybe you just want to celebrate living in the year 2022, where you can get beer, wine, and spirits delivered from Drizzly in under 60 minutes without leaving that couch. Right now, Drizzly is giving all new customers $5 off their first order with code FAST5. So download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com, that's DRIZLY.com, and use the promo code FAST5 for $5 off your first order. So as I mentioned, Drizzly is the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits with delivery to your doorstep in under 60 minutes. You get it when you need it. Conveniently as well, you can shop across multiple stores and choose from a huge selection of beer, wine, and spirits. You get exactly what you want. And best of all, you can shop across multiple stores and compare prices to find the best deals on what you're looking for. And Drizzly, the most common use for Drizzly is a casual night at home. It's the weather sucks. You got a couple buddies over. You're in the middle of cooking. You're in the middle of a Netflix binge. You're watching a wrestling show, whatever it may be, whatever you have going on that you don't want to leave the house. That is where Drizzly comes in with convenient home delivery in under 60 minutes. So again, you're going to want to go to download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Again, DRIZLY.com, drizzly.com. And use that promo code FAST5 for $5 off your first order. Drizzly is the most convenient way to buy beer, wine, and spirits with delivery to your doorstep in under 60 minutes. The #1 app for alcohol delivery. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com, DRIZLY.com, and use that promo code FAST5.
All right. So, Impact, Rich watched this. Steve Macklin in his cosplay. Come full circle.
His Punisher cosplay.
Absolute dork. Defeats Chris Sabin and Jay White.
I love that there's still a genre of, I know about comic books. Like, okay, we got it, pal.
Yeah.
Like, everybody does. They're the most popular thing in the world right now. We got it. Like, every new guy comes out like, hi, I know who Daredevil is. And okay, cool. Cool, dude.
Well, maybe one day Steve Macklin will be more over than these characters and he won't have to pretend that he is these characters, right? mean, I don't know. Jay White loses again. What's going on here?
I don't know. It was weird. Yeah. So they did it in an interesting way here, where like he hit his move, and then Macklin stole the pinfall. So it was that sort of style where like it was told that Jay White like was he was clearly like the most the most focused guy on this. He didn't take a whole lot of bumps. Like he was the one doing a lot of the work. But yeah, they just kind of slyly had Macklin come in and steal the pinfall here. So White didn't win, but also like looked like you know what I mean? Like, so they did it in a pretty clever way. But I mean, this was okay. It's just unfortunately it was a one of many what the announcers called triple threat matches on this show. Your blood would have boiled when Drama King Matt and Tom whatever the fuck Hannafin or whatever. Yeah, we're saying triple threat match, and Hannafin does tag every single time when they tag now, and it's like, bro, you don't have to do that anymore. You don't have to.
Does he really?
Yes, he does, and it infuriates me.
I don't think he was doing that at first.
Yeah, no, I don't know. Well, he does it now, and he definitely, him and Drama King Matt were kept saying triple threat match, and I was like, oh, I hope Joe doesn't watch this. He's gonna go just absolutely insane when he hears Drama King Matt say, oh, I've been in many triple threat matches, and I'll tell you the triple threat matches are. It's just like, oh god. But there was many on this show, so at least two. But yeah, this wasn't bad, but I just would have preferred it as a singles match. I would have preferred Macklin versus Sabin or Macklin versus White, but it was fine. You need to get White on the show. Macklin gets the win. It was fine.
Taya Valkyrie defeats Diana Perrazzo, the nice Italian girl, to win the AAA Queen of Queens title. Is Diana doing jobs and dropping all these belts for when she wrestles, maybe coming into the ROH/AEW, wrestling Mercedes Martinez next week in AEW? Is that what's happening here, or
I don't
what's
know.
going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, maybe it was just time to have her lose this title, but we'll talk about it in a bit. When we get to AAA, that maybe it was just she didn't. But she's working, the TripleMania show, so it's not like it. She could have still been. I don't know. It's an interesting thought. Like, I don't know that they were. I don't know. It may. There's possibly a lot of things that go in there. Taya winning this title isn't a huge surprise because obviously AAA loves her and they love pushing her and making her a featured part of theirs. So it may have just been a thing where they were cool with Diana having the title, but then once Taya came back into their world and they were able to book her again, that they much prefer just having her win it. So I don't know. I'm not sure exactly, but. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it relates to anything else. I don't know if there's a big picture thought to have here. It might just be that AAA wanted Taya to have the title. So.
Yeah. Ace Austin.
Wasn't that great? I'll tell you that. Taya.
Well, Taya stinks.
Yeah, she's not very good at wrestling. So that's I've seen Diana Perrazzo have a lot of very good matches over the last year. And Joe, this was not one of them.
Yeah, Taya's not any good. Ace Austin wins the X Division title. A 3-way X Division match, not triple threat. Trey Miguel, the former champion, and Mike Bailey were the other two men here.
This was really good. Now, again, my hatred of 3-way dances, 3-way matches aside, this is awesome stuff. It's the exact way that 3-way matches should be done, where there's a lot of action all the time. There's fun spots with all three people. There's ways to do these types of matches. There's lazy ways, and that's what most people do, is the one person goes out to the side, and then two people fight. One person comes in, knocks the one person out. The classic, the way that WWE does a quote-unquote triple threat match, which is just boring as fuck, and we've seen it 20,000 times over the last 10 years. We never want to see it ever again. This one, all three dudes just went out there and did shit for, 10 minutes, and it fucking rocked. It was really, really good. Ace Austin looked great. Trey Miguel looked awesome, and Trey Miguel is one of the most underrated guys in wrestling right now. I think he's really, really good. And Mike Bailey, I am more than happy to take the L on that. I think you would probably agree as well. I have long been kind of I don't know, I don't see what other people see in this guy type of thing, where I've always heard really, for the last 5, 6, 7 years or whatever, even when he was away, it was everybody saying, oh, Mike Bailey, and I was just like, I don't know, I've seen him a lot, and it doesn't quite click, but man, over the last few months, between WrestleMania weekend, this thing, everything I've seen him in other places, dude's great. I mean, he has really figured it out, at least, or maybe I've figured it out, or I've come to see what he offers. But I thought he was really good here. Definitely the star of this match, and he's had a great run over the last few months, just putting together, just making up for lost time in big ways with great matches. So I thought he was great here.
Tomohiro Ishii defeats Jonah, all caps. Did he get him up for that brain buster?
Man, I don't remember if he did or not, but this was pretty good, but not great. I think the Jonah stuff, I think Jonah has a lot of talent, but I think Jonah's not quite sure how to use it all the way yet. I really had big anticipations for this match because it's Ishii versus Jonah, and I thought there was going to be a lot of just like, big time moves and big time spots and all that sort of stuff. And it was a little slower, a little bit more methodical than you probably think it was, or maybe probably a little bit more slow and methodical than it should have been. I think it was still pretty decent because it's Ishii and Jonah, and they're both solid enough wrestlers. But I think Jonah has a lot more to offer to his game. And I hope that he improves a little bit in the next few months and weeks or whatever. Just be a big man, man. Use your size. Like I wonder if it's maybe a WWE thing where he's, because they always try to, like, if you're a big guy, they try to kind of tone you down a little bit and tell you to take it easy. Like, he just needs to go out there and fucking destroy people. He's got the body for it. He's got the skills to it. He's done it before. Like, just go and do that. Ishii can take it too. But yeah, I don't know. It was good, but maybe a little under expectations for me.
Violent by Design wins the tag team Schmaz Fest here with the Good Brothers, Taven and Bennett, Myers and Cardona, Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice. I think I got syphilis just reading that team name. Jordan Grace and W. Morrissey, Heath and Rhino, and Rich Swan and Willie Mack. This went over a half hour.
Yeah, a little too long, but I will say there was some pretty fun highlights here. Jordan Grace and W. Morrissey come out. So Jordan Grace has like a mystery partner, and they're like, oh, who's it going to be? And then it's W. Morrissey. And you're thinking, what the fuck? Like, if you don't know who W. Morrissey is, that's Big Cass. And you might be thinking, who gives a shit about Big Cass? Like, that, what a stupid... Impact has protected the hell out of the guy. The guy looks great. His body's in tremendous shape. I'm pretty sure he's going to be on Dynamite next week, right? Like, that's...
Yeah.
Pretty clear from MJF's promo. And I think people are going to be shocked at what they see from a guy who, you mentioned earlier, confidence. This dude has fucking confidence dripping out of his body these days. This dude looks like $1 million, acts like $1 million, owns a room when he comes in there. So he comes out, the crowd goes nuts, he goes nuts. So they get screwed over basically. The major players screw them over. They end up losing or whatever. Afterwards, Morrissey's pissed off. Jordan Grace is pissed off. Morrissey chokeslams Chelsea Green through a table. So Chelsea Green helped them lose. So he's pissed off. Jordan Grace says, you know what, fuck it. Throw her through a table. Do it. I don't care. Do it for me. So Morrissey chokeslams her, or powerbombs her through a table. The table explodes. It looks insane. The crowd goes nuts. Morrissey's screaming. Like, he's the most over guy in this company. It's insane how over W. Morrissey is, and you wouldn't believe it. You would think that I'm lying to you, and I promise you I'm not. The Big Cass is protected, and he's over, and he looks good. He owns the room. He's got confidence. Like, it's hard to describe, but W. Morrissey is like a complete revelation these days. It's wild. I would have never in a million years thought we'd be here with Big Cass, aka W. Morrissey, but he's absolutely there. I mean, he was the star of this match. Unfortunately, then there was like 25 more minutes after all that sort of stuff, and it just kind of went on and on and on and on, and then eventually Violent by Design won, and yeah, it was not great. So,
now I put the guy over behind the paywall today. He's gotten his act together. He's gotten his body in shape. He works within himself. I think that's important too. And he is twice the wrestler he was when people may have last seen him in WWE.
Yeah.
And the big key is he works. He knows what his strengths and weaknesses are, and he works within himself. And I think he's working without a contract, if I'm not mistaken, unless Impact re-signed him. Since last I saw that news bit, there's a chance Tony Khan scoops this guy up. So we'll see how the match goes with Wardlaw next week. I mean, we all suspected it's him because MJF said something about you can't teach that.
Yeah, and you can't.
The guy was 7 tall.
It's not Enzo. So I hope it's not Enzo at least. So.
Well, no, because he said the guy was taller than Wardlaw.
Yes,
so it's not going to be Enzo. But it'd be great if Enzo came out with him and was like dancing around him and fucking managing him. I would go for that. I'd have no problem with that. Impact Knockouts title, Tasha Steelz successfully defends against Rosemary. Rosemary can sometimes be pretty good, and Tasha Steelz can be hit or miss. How was this?
Joe, this was a little bit of a miss here. So
this was a miss. This was a
miss. Yeah, miss. It was not. It was one of the Tasha Steelz misses. Rosemary was pretty bad. Tasha Steelz was pretty bad. The crowd didn't care. It went on a little too long. Tasha Steelz came out dressed as Simba from The Lion King. So
Oh, come on.
at first I thought she was the
Can we
Cowardly
just be
Lion.
ourselves?
At first I thought she was the Cowardly Lion, and I'm like, why is she the Cowardly Lion?
Oh God.
Because she was backstage cutting a promo, and I'm like, she looks like the Cowardly Lion. Like, what? Did I miss some story here? And then she's, talking about it. And then, Tom says, she's channeling Simba from The Lion King. I'm like, oh, all right, cool.
The Cowardly Lion.
And she look up Tasha Steelz at Rebellion. You're gonna see what I'm saying. It looks like it looks like the Cowardly Lion makeup from like a high school play of The Wizard of Oz. And I was like, oh, all right, well, that's cool. But she's pretty good. Like, she's usually pretty good. So I'm gonna
old Bert Lair from The Wizard of Oz.
Right.
The Cowardly Lion.
It wasn't great.
I gotta see this.
I hope you can look it up. Yeah, I don't know if it's.
Oh my God.
I'm
Courage.
gonna
If I
send
only
you a
had some
picture.
courage. Cowardly Lion.
I'm gonna try to send you. Okay. All right.
Ended up being Simba.
Yeah, so you're on the Google chat.
Where am I looking for this?
Our Google chat where we do these show.
All right. Let me see. WrestleZone.
Yeah, so you right? Am I wrong?
I could see where you thought it was the Cowardly Lion.
I mean, Simba makes much more sense.
Why would you think it's but why would anyone think that's Simba?
Right. Well, I don't know if
it
there was
was
a pre-match
Simba?
promo. Well, no, Tom said it was, but I don't know if like later, maybe in her
Okay.
promo she did. Maybe I missed it, but it was a miss.
All right.
Yeah, Tasha Steelz is usually pretty good. I think Rosemary stinks, so it's probably more of Rosemary.
Oh, you don't like Rosemary?
Not a fan. No. She got big mad this week too, right? Didn't she?
Oh, at Meltzer.
Yeah, on a burner, didn't she get mad? Or it's not necessarily a burner, is it? It's like
No,
people
she
know
has
it's
a work and shoot account. On
right.
Twitter.
Well,
so
great.
she from her
Awesome.
from her non-kayfabe account, because Becky Lynch said that, made those comments about how the WWE women's division is featured more and is better than the AEW women's division. And that, of course, obviously people, Rich, you'll be surprised to know that Twitter didn't just say, well, that's her opinion. We're going to have to respect that. No, of course, it turned into a giant blow up for a day and a half. And with the tribalism rising to the surface. And
it's because Dave said Stardom's good, right? That he made the.
So the AEW fans and WWE fans were going at it. And I don't even think anything Becky said was out of line. I mean, the women are featured more in WWE. Right. The division is deeper and better. Right. I mean, I didn't think anything she said was out of line. But
she also works for the company, so she's probably not going to say, hey, our division stinks.
Yeah. She also works for the company and is married to a guy who has made part of his gimmick that he's the company man.
Yes.
So, so I don't think anything she said was out of line or unexpected for all of those reasons. But the AEW fans obviously got annoyed with it. And then, the Impact, someone always jumps in with, well, the real best division is the Impact women's division, which is without a question the most overrated division in all of wrestling because it's a perfectly competent division.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot of really talented, but there's also, there's Havoc and there's not good stuff on there. Yeah. Let's not.
And it's poorly booked like the rest of, it's like, and it's like people talk about the Impact women's division like it's, a vintage All Japan women. I mean, it just isn't, and so
it's got Tenille Dashwood and Madison Rain. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit here.
They were pushing the Iconics,
right?
Who just retired because they realized that they stink. Like, so let's calm down with how great the Impact women's division is. It's perfectly fine, but it's vastly overrated. But then Meltzer quote tweeted someone and was like, well, I mean, none of them are as good as Stardom. Again, I have no problem with Dave saying that.
Right.
He's probably right. I don't watch Stardom, but that seems like a reasonable opinion. But yeah, that's when Rosemary on her shoot account then quote tweeted Dave and said whatever she said. Oh, something about Japan's not going to blow you or something. I don't know what she said. So, basically some derivative of the Tokyo Dome joke, I guess. I don't know. but it's pretty cringy. Pretty cringy was the bottom line. Um, and yeah, even with my limited time on Twitter these days, you couldn't avoid that whole day and a half of which women's division is the best. I know that's a debate. Would you like to get into that debate?
I would
on the show,
Joe. Yes, I would love to get in a debate right now. But yeah, it was. This match was not the great representation of it. Yeah, I think Tasha's pretty solid usually. So I'm gonna blame Rosemary for this. But yeah, it just didn't work. Like the fans were, for whatever reason, just not enough heat. And to be fair, I think that elimination match went way too long because the crowd was really hot until that match. And then that match really brought everybody down. And then Tasha Steelz and Rosemary did not get them back up. So not 100% on their, a fault of theirs. But yeah, I just didn't think it really kind of worked. But then you had the main event. Oh yeah, you're leading me through it. Sorry, take it away. Sorry. Right.
Yeah, what the hell, man? Why are you stepping on me? Then we had the main event, which was the Impact World Title match. Josh Alexander finally avenges Moose. Remember when Moose viciously attacked him in front of his family?
Yeah.
And cashed in some copycat Money in the Bank gimmick that everybody does now, and Alexander versus the Moose.
One sec, Joe. I think we may have gone off air for a moment. So let's see here. Are you're back? You can hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay, let's see. I think we may have lost the stream. Let's see if people are back. Let us know if you can hear. I had a big crash. It said your encoder stopped streaming, yada, yada, yada. So I don't know. We're either back or we're not back.
I think we're back. I think the stream is back. Yeah. There's no more buffering circle on the video.
Okay, so we are back. All right. So I did not hear what you said. It all crashed.
All right.
Me, so
I will set it up again.
Yes, please do.
Impact World Title match. Josh Alexander defeats Moose, coming full circle from last year when Moose cashed in his Money in the Bank knockoff gimmick or whatever and beat Josh Alexander right in front of his wife and kid in an infuriating finish, infuriating in all the wrong ways. But Josh Alexander has avenged that loss, and he is now the Impact World Champion. How was Josh Alexander versus the Moose?
Really, really good. And I think if you're an Impact fan, you're going to love this a lot more than people are just kind of dropping into this. If you're just dropping into this, you're still going to like it. It's a very easy story to follow. There was a great promo package before, so if you didn't know about the background of Alexander and Moose, you got it right there. Alexander comes down with his kid. The announcers, I think, Drama King Matt and Tom did a great job of kind of letting you know all the stakes at hand here, a lot of the story, why this matters to Josh, how despicable Moose is. Like, you got it. There was a clear babyface, a clear heel, a very well-worked match. So if you just drop into this, if you haven't been watching Impact, you will still love this because it was really good work. Josh Alexander, one of the best in the world right now. Moose, there was a long time where people would say, Moose has got this or he's got that, but he's not a great bell-to-bell. I think he's really good bell-to-bell now. I think Moose has got everything right now. I think he's if he wasn't Moose, you know what I mean, for whatever that is worth, being Moose has its ups and downs, and there are a lot of people that just, for whatever reason, for many, many reasons, some justified, some not. Like, they just don't like Moose. They don't want this guy to ever get a push or ever be, popular or whatever. But if you can kind of go in with an open mind of Moose, like, he's really good right now. And so, yeah, he's in there. He owns the room. He's just a guy that totally gets it. A great main eventer these days. Josh Alexander, one of the best wrestlers in the world. And they go out there and they have a really, really, really good main event match. So if you're just dropping in, I think you're going to like it a lot. If you're an Impact fan, if you've been following Impact, if you've been following those pay-per-views, you remember that, the cash in, it's that much better because it's a lot of storytelling, a lot of just really interesting sort of callbacks, little interesting nuggets thrown out throughout it. It didn't go too long, well-paced, just a really, really good match. I would say definitely, out of all the matches on the show, I would say definitely watch the three with Austin, Miguel, and Mike Bailey, and absolutely go out of your way to watch this match. I think I don't know if you should watch it for match of the year purposes, but I think it's well worth it because it rewards you for them telling a very, very good story with Josh Alexander and Moose. It rewards them for pushing Josh Alexander. It rewards Josh Alexander for kind of sticking with Impact, and despite possibly having options elsewhere, Moose for where he's gotten to these days. Like, if you haven't watched Impact in a while, I think maybe jump in, watch this match, and really appreciate that Impact is doing some stuff right these days, and this is maybe the most clear example of it. Josh Alexander winning this title, no bullshit afterwards. He hugs his wife, he hugs his son, people cheer, and he wins. He is now the ace. He's got the championship. He's the top dog. Moose is avenged. It's a very well-told pro wrestling story that comes to a very fitting and rewarding conclusion here with Josh Alexander just beating Moose and winning this title after months and months and months of this getting taken away and ripped from him, and honestly even more when you can consider what Josh had to go through, just even get a visa in the country, just to be able to wrestle in America, getting sent back and forth, yada yada, all that sort of stuff. It's a very, very satisfying conclusion to everything here with Josh Alexander just winning the title and becoming the new Impact champion. So go out of your way to watch this one for sure.
So there you have it. That was the Impact Rebellion, as brought to you by Wealthy Craich. How did that happen?
I have no idea. Yeah, there's these random websites that exist that just like repost stuff from other websites. And they're these weird, like, I don't know what countries they originate from, but they're like direct copies of other websites. They're just trying to grab some SEO. They're just trying to grab some ad dollars or whatever. So like they're direct copies of the website. They just grab like whatever article we have or whatever review, and then they publish it on like wrestlenews.co.hd, these weird ass sites or whatever. So they had one the other day that was like just a random Patreon post that we had, and not even like the full post, like the preview post that we put up at voiceofwrestling.com. And despite everything else being exactly the same, instead of Rich Craich, it said Wealthy Craich on there. So I have no idea where that came from.
I think I know what happened. I mean, I think they put it through a translator, and
Rich Rich went to Wealthy. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, all right.
Like they translate it and then they read and then to whatever language they use, and then they type it back out in English. Like it's like a double translation, right? Okay, and then Rich comes out to Wealthy. But you are henceforth known as Wealthy Craich.
Hey, you know what?
When you look at these lavish vacations and everything, I mean it kind of adds up.
It really does.
I think it kind of So there we go. Now let's do TripleMania real quick, and then I'll ask you a question.
Oh yes,
you ask me a question.
Yes.
Someone's asking someone a question after we. So TripleMania, this TripleMania, TripleMania, Monterrey. Yes. How about the Young Bucks versus Vikingo and Phoenix?
Fuck yes.
How about that, Rich?
Inject that.
Ready for
that? Hell yeah, I'm ready for that. Are you kidding?
Little Bandito, Pagano, and Taya Valkyrie versus Andrade's off the show. That's old information. Oh no, Andrade's on the show. I'm sorry.
Alberto Del Rio. He's off the show. Somebody said we're not working with this fucker, so he's off the show. Yeah.
Cybernetico and Deonna Purrazzo. Back in like the 90s when I never actually heard anybody say his name, I used to pronounce that Cybernetico.
Cybernetico. Okay.
Like a total gringo, right? Cybernetico is what I would say. Speaking of which, have you heard Excalibur pronounce Konosuke Takashita?
I have not. No. What does he say?
It doesn't sound anything like I just said. Trust me. We've been saying that name so wrong for the last 8 years because Excalibur isn't getting it wrong.
Right.
Excalibur is doing it precise.
So has anybody told us this? Because I feel like no one's told us this. And everybody, if we mispronounce any name, we have 27 people telling us 6 different ways to pronounce it, but no matter what way, we're saying it wrong. So you're telling me we've been saying that guy's name for a decade? We've been saying it wrong.
Saying it wrong. When I say Konosuke Takashita, that sounds correct to you, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to attempt to say it the way Excalibur says. Okay. I've been practicing all week. Konosuke Takashita. Konosuke. Not Konosuke. Konosuke, which makes sense because it's Shunsuke, not Shunsuke.
Yeah, not Shinsuke. Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
UKE, you say Konosuke. It's Konosuke, not Konosuke, right? So that's number 1. Konosuke. Try it.
Konosuke.
Takashita.
Okay. Yeah, Takashita.
Right. It's like total.
How it does, in retrospect, it does sound
white boys. Yeah.
Like the most white way to Takashita. As opposed to
So I heard Excalibur say it, and I was so embarrassed for us, the way we've been pronouncing this man's name for the last decade. It's Konosuke Takashita. Konosuke Takashita. Konosuke Takashita. Takashita Konosuke.
Okay.
Takashita Konosuke. Like that is how you're supposed to say it. Man,
Takashita.
Takashita. That's like me saying Cybernetico.
Cybernetico. Or me saying any of these names that we're going to mention here over the next 10 minutes. So.
Johnny Superstar. Who could that be? Who is that?
Can I think I talked about this on my WrestleMania weekend previews. Can we cut this gimmick?
Yeah. I'm all
cute for a
it,
little
man.
while. I'm done. I'm over it.
Hey, did you watch the Do Your Dishes match for WrestleMania weekend between
I did.
Johnny?
I did.
Yo, you really watched it?
I really did. Yeah, I don't know why.
Is that the biggest piece of shit match?
I could not believe it never ended. It would never fucking end.
They refused to end the match. It was unbelievable. It was unbelievable.
And the crowd wanted to like the match. That was the best part about it. The crowd wanted, like when it first started, they're like, ah ha ha ha, all right, we're into this match, let's do it. And then like 5 minutes in, you could tell that they're like, all right, go home, guys. Like, we got it. Like, you know, they were like, do your dishes, or oh, you fucked up, you know. And then like 10 minutes into that match, they're like, all right, no, please get the fuck off of our, like, go away, please. You have to go. Why is this still going on? So,
Did you watch Shazza McKenzie versus Billy Starks?
I have not seen that yet. I can't bring myself to do it.
That match legitimately was one of the worst matches I've ever seen in my life. And Rich, Wrestling Revolver, the Sami Callihan vehicle, he rebooked it.
Running it back. I saw that. They're running it back, yeah.
I don't know how any human being could have laid eyes on that match WrestleMania weekend and thought to themselves, we need more of that.
Yeah, let's bring that.
Why would you book that again? I feel bad for them because all shtick aside, it was awful. It was embarrassing, that match. A humiliating experience for everyone involved. How could you book it again? Sami Callihan couldn't have seen it, right? That's not
there's
possible.
no way. There's no way. Yeah.
Like, he's kind of good at wrestling. He knows bad wrestling, right?
And Revolver's been, I mean, they're pretty well booked most of the time. Like, there's some pretty good stuff on Revolver shows.
Does that show draw one less fan without that dopey match? Why would you book that?
It's a match designed for the shut up and take my money quote teat people, pretty much, and only those people. So
maybe it will draw then. Maybe I'm out to lunch. All I know, I don't know. I've done my audio rants on that match. I thought maybe you watched it out of pure.
No, sorry, have not seen it yet. So maybe sometime soon I'll watch it. I can't. There's certain matches and there's certain things on WrestleMania weekend that I just cannot bring myself to watch just yet. So
how do you run that back? I don't. It's baffling to me. I honestly can't respect your opinion if you watched that match and didn't think it was one of the worst things you've ever seen. It's impossible to me that anyone who knows anything about wrestling could watch that match and not think it was terrible, including the people involved. Like, they couldn't have been happy with their performance. It's impossible. I can't accept it.
I guess I do have to watch it one of these days.
Connect for Psycho Clown. This is part of the gimmick now.
Yeah, so now we're starting. This is going to be the year-long tournament here. They're going to do a multi-round, mask tournament here. With the end result is on the the third AAA show. They're going to do a main event, and that'll be a mask versus mask. So it's not every single like Ultimo Dragon's not losing his mask on this. It's not a match between Ultimo Dragon and Pentagon, and one man's losing their mask. It's all matches in this tournament, and then finally, when you get to the finals of this tournament, one person will lose their mask and one person will retain it. So yes, it is not.
But is
all
it
mask.
the loser? No, but is it the loser advances? Like, in other words, you don't want to win to get to a mask versus mask match. You want to.
Right. Oh, yeah. Right. The losers.
The loser
yes, correct. Right? Yeah. Sorry, I didn't specify that. Yes. Yeah. Because that would suck if you won all your matches and they're like, all right, now you got a mask. Like, what the fuck? Like, I won 6 matches. Yes. Losers advance in this round. Yes. If that wasn't obvious that you don't want to lose your mask. Yes. No, the losers advance in this tournament, not the winners.
So one of these men is losing their mask. So Connect versus Psycho Clown, Rayo Di Jalisco Jr. versus Blue Demon Jr., Piano 4 versus LA Park, and Ultimo Dragon versus Pentagon Jr., or whatever he calls him. I guess he calls himself Pentagon Jr. in this promotion. So we all know who I'm talking about. I skipped 2 matches. So it's Johnny Superstar and Taurus versus Dragon Lee and Juristico versus Laredo Kid and X. 3 X's this week. And Octagon Jr. and Sexy Star, not the original Sexy Star, I don't believe. I think this is
there's a new Sexy Star. It's not the Sexy
Star
that everybody...
the 9th Octagon Jr.
Right. It's not the Sexy Star everybody hates. It's a new Sexy Star, and yes, it's the 9th Octagon Jr.
Versus Latigo and Maravilla and Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti. So Now, I don't really mean it's the 9th Octagon Junior because people are going to be like,
it's only been 4, you dumbass. Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And then, of course, like I said, the tournament gimmick, and then they're doing a Copa TripleMania deal. So that's TripleMania. That actually looks like a decent lineup.
It does.
AAA.
Yeah. And that's going to be on Fight. There's English audio as well. So you can order that on voicesofwrestling.com/fight. Larry Dallas, and I forget who's the other guy doing it with him.
Please be Matt Striker. Please be Matt Striker.
I don't think it's Matt Striker, unfortunately.
No? All right.
I wish
Larry Dallas.
Yeah, shoot. It's damn. I know Larry Dallas, and I forget.
Was that Kevin Gill?
I don't think it's Kevin Gill either, thank God. So
Kevin Gill.
Joe Dombrowski.
Right.
So that's good. Joe Dombrowski and Larry Dallas. That's a good crew.
I think that'll be good.
Yeah, that's a good crew. So that if you want to watch in English, it is available on Fight. To watch in English, Larry Dallas and Joe Dombrowski. If you want to watch in Spanish, obviously it's available on Fight as well. So there's 2 different ways. We have a preview up right now from a Cubs fan, luchablog.com. There's a extensive preview. So if you're, we obviously do not follow AAA nearly as much as Lucha Blog. So that's a hot take right there. Let's say that. But now, if you need some details about these matches, know kind of what's going into the matchmaking and all that sort of stuff, a great preview up at voicesofwrestling.com, including direct links to order the show if you want to. But yeah, that looks like a fun one. So. The strategy here, and Cubs fan kind of lets you know about it too, is they're trying to do the WrestleMania thing. They're just going to call a bunch of different shows this year TripleMania, hoping that you care about it. But this is a really good card and a pretty decent show, and we care about it, so it worked. Like whatever strategy they had, it definitely worked. Yeah, it absolutely worked because we're talking about it when normally we would not talk about a random May TripleMania or a random May AAA show, but we're doing it here. So credit to them that the strategy worked.
Over under. On cancelable things, Larry Dallas says 1.5.
I think Larry's turned a new page here. I'm going to say under, Joe. I'm going to go with an under here.
I'm going to take the over.
I mean, that's a safe. The safer bet is the over for sure.
Yeah.
But the better odds are going to come for me on the under. But the safe bet is
there's a lot of factors here because there's a lot of women on the card. It's in a foreign land. There's people of different ethnicities.
Oh, you're giving poor Larry.
No, but Larry means well. But sometimes the mouth moves faster than the brain. He'd even admit that. So I'm gonna go over. You're gonna go under.
He was fine on he was fine on the AAA Mania weekend show, right? I don't think he said anything bad.
Look, here's the thing. Larry can go 0 cancelable things, or he can go 17.
Right? Yeah. There's no in between for sure.
It could really be, and it could run the gamut. So I will gamble, and I will take the over. Who's asking a question here? Is one of us asking a question?
So I am going to ask you one question. Should we have covered a little bit more of the Noah show, the actual matches on the Noah, or do you not care?
Nah, who cares? We'll review it next week.
Okay, we'll review it next week. Yeah, because there's a lot of weird names.
We went through the matches last week.
Did we? Did we go through all the matches? I don't remember if we did. Okay.
Yeah, I went through all the matches, and I asked you if it was the worst Sumo Hall main event.
Oh, that's right. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay.
So we went over the matches last week. If you want to go, if you didn't listen last week and you want to hear us talk about the Noah lineups, it's literally the last segment on last week's show.
I forgot about that. We did do that. Okay.
Should be easy to find. So anyone who wants to listen to that, go listen to the last 10 minutes of last week's show. So we got it. We did it there.
Okay. So now, Joe, I will ask you
next week.
I will ask you.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
I'll ask you. All right.
No, don't I ask? I got to answer.
All right. Yeah. You ask me. Go ahead.
This is always such a mess. Why can't we ever get this straight? All right. Rich, do you want to go bouncing? Around the Indies.
Let's do it.
All right, so we start with West Coast Pro game related. We both watched this show. I've got maybe a bit of a hot take. I think West Coast Pro right now is the best indie in America. What do you think of that take?
I don't think you're wrong. I mean, everything I've watched at West Coast Pro lately has been really, really good. This show in particular, no nonsense, booking really great talent, booking a lot. I mean, if you see a lot of the most recent match announcements that I've said, oh shit, that looks really good, has come from them. Like it's come from them. I watched a show like this. Almost everything on the show delivered to exactly what I wanted. Again, no nonsense, good booking, strong, champions, smart book. I think so. Production wise was good. Announcers were good. I would say, I don't think you're off base there at all. I think this that West Coast Pro has done a really, really good job in recent months, and they're definitely an indie that when a new show pops up, I try to at least watch a little bit. But this one I was able to watch the entire show and came away really, really impressed by what West Coast Pro is doing.
Yeah, I've been following along with them and trying to watch every show since late last year, and I got through this one, and I know it was a couple weeks ago, but sometimes it takes us a little while to catch up with the indie shows. They book really great talent. They mix them in well with their local talent, and I think for the type of fan that listens to our show, I think they would really enjoy these West Coast Pro shows. I think they're kind of right up the alley of people who like wrestling in their wrestling. I know that sounds weird to say, but
on the current indie scene, yeah, that is a unique aspect of some companies.
It's just no nonsense. Did you see they announced for June Speedball Mike Bailey versus Konosuke Takashita?
I did see that. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, that sounds great.
Konosuke Takashita Konosuke.
Now you're just showing off. Now you're just making sure. Were you in a mirror earlier doing this?
I've been practicing all week, my man.
Hell yeah.
Ever since I heard Excalibur say it. I'll tell you what you need to watch. I'm not even joking. Takashita Konosuke versus Brandon Cutler from Dark Elevation.
Dark Elevation, yeah. Okay.
I'm not even joking. Legitimate recommendation. But anyway, yeah, so Speedball Mike Bailey versus Takashita. And look, West Coast Pro is the kind of promotion now it's going to book a Takashita, right? Because that's the kind of talent that they're bringing in. They try to bring in the best talent. The shows are accessible on IWTV. I like this Levi Shapiro.
Yeah, I like Levi Shapiro too. Yeah, he's good.
He never fails to impress me. I mean, every time I see this guy, I enjoy him. They brought ASF in for this show. ASF is getting booked everywhere. He seems like one of the big winners of WrestleMania weekend, for sure. And he worked a six-man here with the Rez and Gringo Loco against local guys, Alpha Zoe, D-Rogue, and Midas Creed. Well, two of those guys are local guys, right? I don't think Midas Creed.
Yeah, I think I forget where Midas is based, but yeah, I think you're right.
Well, isn't Midas Creed, unless I'm confusing this, Midas Creed is... No, I'm thinking he's somebody else. Never mind. Forget the Midas Creed point. And now I closed my sheet. So yeah, it was Jacob Fatu versus Bandito in the main event. Borderline notebook. I thought they both brought it. I think they might have had a better match in them, but certainly not a match I'm going to complain about. Minoru Suzuki versus Kevin Blackwood. I'm kind of over the Suzuki indie matches, to be honest.
I agree. I'm with you too, yeah.
Yuji Nagata versus Davey Richards. I mean, right where all of Davey's matches were landing. 3 3/4, 3.5, 4 if you're being generous. But I got to tell you, Rich, to me, the match of the night was Titus Alexander and Mike Bailey.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if that was where you were going to go, but that was definitely I had it circled and starred and said, if Joe doesn't bring this up, I'm going to say this is my favorite match of the entire night as a hot take. But yeah, Titus Alexander, Mike Bailey, awesome. Again, Mike Bailey continues to impress the hell out of me these last few months. Definitely making up for lost time, not being able to work American Indies for, 6 years or whatever. Came back, guns blazing, and he's been tremendous. And dude, Titus Alexander, if you are not on the bandwagon, get on the fucking bandwagon of Titus Alexander. Or Titus Alexander.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a name to watch for sure. And Mike Bailey just continues, his march through the indies and his return from, his forced sabbatical. So another notebook quality match. I went notebook for that bout. The only one. But there was a bunch of matches on this show that I thought were flirting with the notebook. And that Vinny Massaro, he just makes sure he gets all the interesting match. I'm surprised he didn't just, maybe he's wrestled Yuji Nagata before.
Yeah, I was going to say, him, Yuji Nagata, and Suzuki in a three-way match.
But they brought Akira in from the East Coast, and he booked himself against Akira. So.
And booked himself to a win.
Well, listen.
Pays to have the pencil.
Yeah. Is he booking this? Or
I actually don't know. I don't know. I forget. Because we made a reference to it a couple, and then he responded to it, but I forget what he said. I forget if he told us, hey, guys, I'm not actually booking this, or, yeah, you're right, I am booking this. I don't remember. So
Yeah, but he lobbies for the interesting matches all the time, is what he does.
it certainly does,
Either
as
way.
he should. That guy's, he's paid
Been around
his
forever.
dues, as the kids say. Yeah, so
Yeah.
he deserves it.
How'd you think Debbie Malenko looked?
I thought Debbie looked pretty good, actually. So this is a match that was
51, I think, or something.
Yeah, this is a match that was supposed to happen a couple months ago, and then I think Debbie got COVID or something like that happened, so she wasn't able to come, so they had to book it here, and it sucked because they had been building it to a nice little crescendo. I know that Tim Tersai wrote a really great article for Voices of Wrestling about this build, and they've been really doing a great job of it. And then like a day before this match was going to happen, it got they had to take it away and take not book it and had to kind of rebook it, and they weren't sure if they were ever going to get this match happen again, and they did, and I thought this was pretty damn good. There was 10 minutes of no nonsense. I think Masha's looked really good this year. I've liked a lot of what I've seen from her, and like some people have said, like she's been in matches with like a lot of really good dudes, like wrestling a lot of good men, and maybe that's making her look a little bit better, but I think maybe she's just getting a lot better, because in this match I thought she was good. I thought Debbie Malenko, given her age and given she's not wrestling that often anymore, I thought she was really good, and they just went out there and they kicked each other's asses for 10 minutes. So yeah, more of this, please.
All right, so tell me about this Warrior Wrestling show with Will Ospreay versus Blake Christian.
Yes.
You've been chomping at the bit to just fucking talk shit about this incredible match here.
Yeah, so Will Ospreay versus Blake Christian. Wow, we are way over 3 hours already. Jesus Christ, didn't know that was possible. Anyway, we'll go over it anyway. Screw it. Bouncing Around the Indies. We can go longer. Will Ospreay, Blake Christian, Warrior Wrestling 21. Awesome main event. I mean, so this is Warrior Wrestling. Obviously, mostly runs in Chicago, but they've started to kind of branch out a little bit over the last year. Which
He's kind of feeling himself. This guy.
Yeah. And we talked about it. Like they used to only run the high school. It used to be kind of a product of the high school. He has made it public that, hey, we broke away from the high school. I am now running this as an independent thing. I am just independently promoting this away from the high school. It's not a fundraiser anymore. It's a wrestling company. It's a full-fledged wrestling company now. And they've run some different areas. They haven't just run the high school. They've run in Indiana. They were in Indianapolis a couple weeks ago. And then they came back here to South Bend, Indiana, which is not, that's not Chicago anymore. I mean, Indianapolis is clearly not Chicago. South Bend also not Chicago at all. And they're drawing some decent houses. Like, this wasn't a full building, but it was a pretty decent house. And it was a hot crowd that was interested in this entire show. And this was a hell of a show, again, from Warrior Wrestling. And there always used to be this thing with Warrior Wrestling where the matches on paper always looked really good, but then you'd actually watch the shows or watch the matches, and they were fine. Like, they were okay. They've now kind of turned into just sort of booking really good wrestlers against each other. Like, it used to be, hey, we're going to get Alberto El Patron, or we're going to get this guy, we're going to get that guy, and they're going to get people that have names but aren't necessarily great bell-to-bell wrestlers. Now they're booking great bell-to-bell wrestlers and having them have great bell-to-bell matches because, yeah, Will Ospreay and Blake Christian go out there and just tear the fucking house down. Now, Will Ospreay is in South Bend, Indiana on Warrior Wrestling streaming on Fight TV. He doesn't need to bust his ass. He doesn't need to work very hard. He does, though. He does. This is as good as the John Moxley match. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of the same spots, a lot of the... I mean, just... This dude's fucking insane. Why are you working this hard in South Bend, Indiana for Warrior Wrestling? But he does, because that's what he does, because that's Will Ospreay. So, yeah, he so clearly the Wrestler of the Year to me. I don't think there's any question who you know, if you're watching as much wrestling as you know, we are or any hardcore wrestling fan is, you've seen a shit ton of Will Ospreay this year, and almost all of it's been great. Blake Christian, I think the run in WWE has helped him. He has a whole different approach to wrestling. I think he's a lot better than he was when he left, so kudos to him. He's been working his ass off. Go out of your way to watch this match. I went 4.25 on it. I could easily see 4.5. I saw some 5 stars. Totally could see that. Watch Will Ospreay and Blake Christian, Warrior Wrestling 21 if you can. Really, really good. As far as other stuff on the show, Carl Fredericks and Clark Connors had a really, really good match. It's exactly what you would assume a Carl Fredericks Clark Connors match would be, but they just beat the shit out of each other. Carl Fredericks just gets the win. That was solid. Swerve Strickland and Adam Brooks. I don't know if you followed, but Adam Brooks is taking a lot more U.S. indie bookings, kind of realizing that the landscape in Australia not great right now for wrestling, so has decided to come stateside, give that another try again. So he's booked here for Warrior Wrestling and Swerve Strickland. Really, really good stuff there. So definitely check that out.
Adam Brooks just did a swing through Texas.
Nice, cool. Yeah, he's if you're smart, if you're a wrestling promoter and you have an open spot on one of your shows, you should probably book Adam Brooks because he is really, really good. And this was awesome. These were two high-level professional wrestlers going out there. You know what I mean? Brooks and Swerve, both like top tier dudes. Like, not I don't know the best way to say this, but like in the quote unquote indies, like these guys are clearly like head and shoulders above everybody else, just in the way they approach wrestling and just all that. So really, really good stuff there. And then honestly, the triple threat is for the women. The Warrior Wrestling women's title is Athena, Sky Blue, and Shazza McKenzie. You might think, oh boy, that has potential to be really bad. And there were some rough spots. There was some stuff that didn't work, but I thought they did the triple threat. I know they called it a triple threat. Don't get mad at me. They called it a triple threat. They did the stipulation pretty well. They did a lot of spots that kind of involved all three women. And I think overall it was better than you probably think it was. So Athena got the win. She is the new Warrior Wrestling Women's Champion because Thunder Rosa gave up the title because, in no uncertain terms, I got to do stuff for AEW. I can't be having these indie titles anymore.
Well,
so she vacated the title, yeah.
Not only that, but this is a warning to other indie promoters. Don't put your titles on AEW wrestlers because then you can't get them off of them.
Right.
Because they can't lose.
Yeah, she's not going to lose, and she doesn't want to run these shows. So, yeah, it was kind of a twofold thing here. So, yeah. Again, like we talked about a little bit earlier, if you're going to book AEW talent on an indies, assume that they're going to win and don't give them the title because then they're going to have to win all the time. So,
put them in like a feature match that doesn't have anything to do with your storylines, and because once you start putting titles on them, and don't put them over your key people, don't put them against your key people because they have to win. So it's a big problem.
So there you go. That was Warrior Wrestling 21. It's also available on Fight, so I would definitely recommend that. voiceofwrestling.com/fight. It was a pretty good show, production-wise, really, really good. And I think Warrior's doing some pretty interesting stuff here. They're starting to really become a player in the Chicago indie scene. So cool, another indie for us.
It's a super indie. It's a super indie. I would definitely call it that. AAW is running Friday. There's so much going on this week. We are going to have 1,000 things to talk about and review on next week's show. You're probably going on. That probably means you're going on vacation.
No. I'll be here. All
right. So AAW, Never Say Die. Rich, you are the AAW man. Do you want to tell us the key matches to keep an eye on here this Friday? This is also on Fight, which you can order through our link.
Yep. voiceofwrestling.com/fight. This Friday in Chicago, I am potentially going to this show. I have to figure out how the day goes. The work day is always kind of tough on a Friday. So we'll see. So you have your main event, steel cage match, Silas Young versus Manders. It's been a long time building here. Silas Young has been owning the scene again, just kind of coming in as an asshole, the last great man stuff, all that sort of stuff he's doing again. He's going to face Manders here in a steel cage match. AEW heavyweight title, Matt Fitchett versus Eric Young. They're bringing Eric Young in here. He's going to face Matt Fitchett. Looks like a pretty fun match there. AEW Heritage Championship match, Ace Austin versus Myron Reed. Big Beef, Gnarls Garvin, who the last time Big Beef was in AEW had one of my favorite AEW matches I've ever seen live. Big Beef went out there and just fucking killed it. So I'm interested. It's Big Beef versus Josh Alexander, so I'm very excited in that. Miracle, the Mike Bennett guy, versus Fred Yehai, so interested in that as well. So it looks like a pretty fun card. Ace Perry and Hammerstone, the AEW Tag Team Champions, against Rush Jones and Heather Reckless. Also ACH, Jossie, and Question Mark, another X here in AEW, versus Hakeem Zayn, Karam, and Ren Jones, and a bunch of other names kind of announced, but no official matches for them as well. So it looks like a hell of a show. Steel Cage, Fitchett versus Young looks pretty good, and I think that Big Beef versus Josh Alexander, definitely a match to keep an eye on for sure.
So if Rich goes, he'll review it here or behind the paywall or somewhere. So we'll see about that. PWG announced their lineup for delivering the goods. Here's what Rich wrote verbatim in the notes. Looking forward to complaining about not being able to watch this show until August, then it coming out in July, but then still not watching it.
Right? I mean, isn't that what it's going to be?
Yes. But the lineup sure looks good. Look, if I could buy a ticket to this, I'd go. Am I waiting around for the fucking DVD? I'm not going to be interested anymore. We've been over this a million times. But we've got Shane Haste versus Jack Cartwheel. Konosuke Takeshita versus Aramis. I blew the Takeshita that time.
You did. It's all right.
Jonathan Gresham versus Kevin Blackwood. The Briscoes versus Aussie Open. My God, does that look great. I mean, that looks great. You have Game Changer, who books the Briscoes with Boosie. And then you have PWG.
Yeah, who books them against Aussie Open, yeah.
I mean, one promotion, knows what they're doing, and the other one doesn't.
Why can't this
really
promotion have 15 fucking shows every month on Fights instead of that other one? But there we go.
To be fair, I guess the Game Changer fans enjoy the Boosie so that's a good match for them. But it certainly isn't getting me in the door. It's pronounced Boosie, right? Why would you pronounce it?
I don't care. I don't want to know.
Why would you pronounce it Bussy? Because if it's supposed to be like pussy, then it would be Boosie. I don't know.
You've thought about this way more than I have ever thought about Boosie or Bussy or any of that shit. So,
Black Taurus versus Blake Christian, Biff Busick versus Mike Bailey. Mike Bailey's set to have another great match, and then Bandito defends the title against Daniel Garcia. So, yeah, it actually looks like a fucking great show that I'll never watch.
Yeah, we'll never watch it. And the problem, like, so people are always like, we know the model. You don't have to tell us. We understand the model. It's just, for the purposes of this show, like, I don't watch wrestling for pleasure anymore, really. Like, I still do from time to time, but, like, that sort of stuff I watch, like, a current stuff I will watch because I want to talk about it on the show. When are we? I mean, we're not going to, on August 15th, review PWG Delivering the Goods from May. You know what I mean? Like, we're just not going to do it. So,
yeah.
I just never watch it. It sucks because it looks awesome, but
yeah.
I feel like that Briscoe's Aussie Open I probably have to watch, though. I mean, that sounds fucking tremendous, right?
It really looked great on paper. I mean,
well, excited to not get the DVD, so I can't wait.
Rich, tell us about this Defy debuting on Pluto. I didn't know anything about this.
So the show itself, I mean, there's not a ton of stuff to talk about. John Moxley versus Tom Lawler, Christopher Daniels and Midnight Heat versus Adam Brooks, aforementioned Adam Brooks, Nick Wayne and Swerve, Big Damo versus Kevin Blackwood. That's the announced matches right now. But what's the interesting part about the Defy Wrestling, Defy, obviously indie out of Seattle, Matt Farmer, I believe a Matt Farmer production there. Yeah. Former guest on Voice of Wrestling, did some Hall of Fame shows with us, Wrestling Observer Hall of Fame shows with us. He's got his indie on Pluto. So now Defy has been on the Pluto Pro Wrestling channel. I don't know if you ever delved into the Pluto Pro Wrestling channels, but it shows some random indies, Defy, I forget the other ones that they have on there. And Pluto's got a few other wrestling channels. It's got an Impact channel that if you just watch it, there's just always Impact streaming on it all day. It's not bad. Like, sometimes I'll put it on just to have as background noise or whatever. There's also a AAA channel, which is pretty fun to put on as well. They will just air random AAA from their history. But then there's this Pro Wrestling channel, which shows a bunch of replays of Defy events and a few other indies. They're airing live. This show this weekend airing live on Pluto's Pro Wrestling channel. So I believe this will be the first time that Pluto, the Pro Wrestling channel Pluto, is showing live wrestling shows. So that's really interesting there. It's another player in the field that maybe more people see this, or maybe, hey, this does pretty well, and they can start airing some more stuff on there. So it's an interesting thing. Pluto is completely free. It's kind of ad supported, so you get on there, it plays ads before and after every video that you watch. It cuts in between the video to play an ad or whatever. So I don't know how this is going to work with like a live wrestling show. I don't know if it's going to cut in with the ads like that or how it's going to work, but I'm excited to see it. I'm excited. I hope it works out for them because I think another way to watch wrestling live is great. And Defy, from what I've seen, I really like what Defy does, and more opportunities to watch them and maybe watch them live. I'm definitely down for. So definitely try to check it out this weekend on Pluto. So yeah, Defy Wild Ones airing on Pluto. So
they've done a good job growing that promotion over the years. So this is another step that's really become, one of the promotions that are really an anchor on the indie scene in terms of, you're going to get a quality show with quality names, a quality production. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So up in the Pacific Northwest there. So, and I think it's good that there's anchor promotions like that all over the country, because then that means, everybody's going to use the same core group of national names, that draw people in. But then it also gives the local talent in some of these regions a chance to work with these people. So when you have a stable promotion that does a nice job like Defy, that means a lot of the Pacific Northwest guys who normally wouldn't be getting any kind of exposure if there's not, a solid promotion up there, are getting exposure now, right, because they're working on shows with John Moxley and Swerve Strickland and all the people that Defy uses on a regular basis. So,
all right, I think that's it. We are well over time here. We have Bounce Around the Indies. Anything else you need to add, Bounce Around the Indies? Anything else you need to add on the show before we?
I don't know. I think we covered fucking literally everything.
Yeah, we
covered.
This
is one of them old school shows that we do everything.
Every part of the wrestling world.
Yeah.
As excruciating detail as we possibly could, and then also Liv Tyler's current acting career. So there you go. That is what you got on this week's Flagship. FlagshipPatreon.com, voicewrestling.com/Patreon. Patreon.com/Voices of Wrestling as well for all of that stuff. $1, $5, $10 tiers to get additional stuff, live flagships, all the other premium stuff we do. VoicesOfWrestling.com for all the previews, reviews, columns, and also the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network. We referred to a few shows during this show as well, but a lot of great stuff up there right now. Podcasts about every corner of wrestling, just like we do here. Anything about New Japan, everything about Noah, All Japan, WWE, AEW, classic retro stuff, TNA, classic retro WCW. We have all that stuff up there over at the Voice of Wrestling Podcast Network. So make sure you subscribe to that on your podcast app of choice. So that is it for us. So for Joe Lanza, I'm Rich Craich. We'll talk to you next time on the Flagship Podcast. Take care.
Underdog Fantasy is the fastest growing fantasy app and easiest place to play fantasy sports. Just jump on UnderdogFantasy.com or download the app, draft your team, and that's it. And if drafts aren't your thing, they also have a pick'em game where you can win 20 times your money in a single night. Use promo code RADIO, and Underdog will double your first deposit when you sign up with up to $100 in bonus cash. Deposit $100, get $100 free. That's promo code RADIO. Terms and conditions apply.